Chapter 474. The battle was not viewed favorably. The Xian Yuan clan's words caused more and more ancient clansmen's expressions to change. The Xian Yuan clan was an overlord clan like the Sword Worship clan. Yet, this clan was willing to ally with the Zhangji clan like the Sword Worship clan. This was an honor that many two-star ancient clans could not achieve. The four overlord clans had always accepted vassals. At this moment, only the Zhangji clan had the opportunity to ally with two one-star ancient clans. The silhouettes of the higher-ups of the Sword Worship clan gradually appeared in the sky, but Jian Fantian's figure was not among them. An elder of the Sword Worship clan could not help but shake his head at Long Chen. "We know about the enmity between you and the Bright Moon Ancient clan, but you are too reckless this time." After saying that, the elders of the Sword Worship clan could not help but look at Long Chen's army. Among the 60,000 troops, the 20,000 people at the front were like a sheet of loose sand. No matter how many of them they sent out, they could only serve as cannon fodder. Although the 20,000 people in the middle were slightly orderly, there was not much difference between them. Although the 15,000 people at the back seemed to be more orderly, the crowd did not care. This was because they knew that these people had been recruited by Long Chen for less than 10 days. Unless there were close to 200,000 of them, they could not pose a threat to the fourth battlefield. The ancient clans were in a heated discussion. These array projections were set up by the ancient clan scouts in advance so that they could observe the battle. Long Chen looked at the attention-grabbing battle and said with a smile, "I thank the Xian Yuan clan for their kindness. We can talk about the alliance later. Today, I am determined to attack the fourth battlefield." In fact, Long Chen knew why the Xian Yuan clan extended an olive branch to him. It was because of the spirit burning technique. The news of him using the spirit burning technique on a large scale on Kun Mountain was no secret. If this secret technique was used on a large scale, it would be terrifying. If the Xian Yuan clan could obtain it, they would be like a tiger that had grown wings. When the ancient clans saw that Long Chen was still stubborn, they could not help but shake their heads. Everyone looked at the mountain that had been moved away and did not say anything else. The Bright Moon Ancient clan deliberately moved the mountain to allow Long Chen and the others to enter the fourth battlefield. It could be said that this was a disguised provocation. Long Chen turned a deaf ear to the projections of the ancient clans. Instead, he took a deep look at the Sword Worship clan, as if he was deep in thought. "Set off." With a loud shout, Long Chen and the others led everyone into the fourth battlefield from the giant mountain that had been moved away. At this moment, the 20,000 people leading the army were in chaos. If not for the tens of thousands of soldiers behind them, they would have fled long ago. Are we really going to attack the fourth battlefield? Can't the Zhangji clan listen to the advice of the ancient clans? *CK. I thought it was just a formality. It's just a few Emperor tier pills. I don't want to die. There are still tens of thousands of people behind us. We can't retreat. He's serious. We're done for. Countless shouts came from the 20,000 people in front of them. It was extremely noisy. Although these 20,000 people were the first to set foot inside, they were in a complete mess and could not be compared to the group behind them. Seeing that Long Chen and the rest had all set foot on the fourth battlefield, the ancient clans shook their heads when they heard the clamor. Water screens appeared in the middle of the formation of the ancient clans' projections. They were at least 100 meters wide, and on them were the scenes of Long Chen and the rest entering the fourth battlefield. As expected, he recruited these people only a little more than 10 days ago and tempted them with pills. I'm afraid that once the battle starts, only the 20,000 people at the back will not fall apart. You're right, but once the 40,000 people at the front fall apart and flee, they'll just be seeking their own deaths. I'm afraid the outcome of this battle will be decided within 3 days. What a pity. The leader of the Zhangji clan, Long Chen, is really an extraordinary person. In terms of combat strength, he's a legend among the younger generation of the Waste Realm. He has long been left far behind by the Dao disciples of the various clans. But after all, he's still a young man. Not only that, but he also seems to have the support of the Alchemist Guild. Otherwise, even if he has 70% of Kun Mountain's resources, he wouldn't be able to produce so many pills in such a short time. Many people among the various clans had a high opinion of the Tsungji clan, but they did not have the slightest confidence in this battle. While everyone was discussing, a murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the leader of the Nine Sons clan. He sneered as he stared at the water screen in front of him. An elder behind him also stared at the water screen and said, "They've reached the first area of the fourth battlefield. This is the first line of defense established by the Bright Moon Ancient clan after they won the fourth battlefield." Everyone immediately focused their eyes on the scene on the water screen. What they saw was a huge plain with nearly 10,000 people gathered in the center of the plain. Looking along the plain, there were 2 mountain peaks at the front that pierced the clouds like long swords. Buzz! As soon as Long Chen and the others set foot on the plains, the 2 mountain winds that pierced through the clouds produced streaks of lightning that intersected with each other. In the end, they streaked across the sky and gathered into a thundercloud in the sky. It was as if they could unleash an extremely powerful lightning attack at any time. Among the 10,000 people in the center of the plain, 4 members of the Bright Moon Ancient clan slowly stood out. The leader was a man in his 40s with a fierce-looking face. He looked quite ferocious. He looked at Long Chen and the rest from afar and sneered as he shouted, "Since you're here to die, what are you waiting for? I'd like to see how powerful these wandering ancient clans are." This person was decisive. Although there was disdain in his eyes, he did not relax in the face of Long Chen and tens of thousands of people. As he spoke, the 10,000 people behind him spread out in a flash and turned into a battle formation. This formation was in the shape of a huge poisonous scorpion monster beast. The left and right sides of the formation were caved in, and thousands of people were divided into hundreds of teams to respond to each other from afar. Buzz! As the battle formation was activated, the 10,000 people flashed with black light and merged into one in the blink of an eye. The black light soared into the sky and turned into a huge 3-eyed poisonous scorpion with 2 pincers and a huge tail. The poisonous scorpion's shape flashed as if it was going to devour people. Seeing this, Long Chen stared at the 20,000 people in front of him and said playfully, "In this first battle, you'll charge and kill." As soon as Long Chen said this, the 20,000 people in front of him roared in fear and no one dared to step forward. Dongfang Jin walked to Long Chen's side and frowned, "These people are useless. I think it's better for me to lead 10,000 people." Long Chen shook his head and said with a smile, "Of course I know that these people are useless. In the face of the illusory formation, these people are the last to wake up. Their final result of participating in the battle is to run away." Chapter 475. Go straight into the hinterland. Changchen gave the order, and the 20,000 people at the front of the army immediately fell into chaos. However, no one dared to retreat. After all, Long Chen still had 40,000 soldiers behind them. There were Runhuang Realm and Runhuang Realm cultivators among these people. In the end, they braced themselves and charged forward with a shout. Just as everyone had expected, the 20,000 men leading the charge were unable to withstand a single blow. The 2 armies had just clashed when they scattered in all directions. There were even some who took advantage of the chaos to rush towards the entrance and escape frantically. In less than a quarter of an hour, 1 or 2,000 of the 20,000 people had died. As for the remaining 10,000 people, they had all fled. Such a scene caused the tens of thousands of people of the Bright Moon Ancient clan to turn pale with shock. Soon after, they couldn't help but laugh. At the same time, the various ancient race beings outside could also see everything clearly through the projection. They shook their heads and chuckled, as though they had long expected something like this to happen. As expected, these people aren't a pile of loose sand at all. It's impossible to rely on these people to increase the combat strength of a clan. It's not just loose sand. I didn't expect it to be so bad. Almost 2/3 of the people have escaped. Is this Long Chen's confidence? Could it be that he wanted to rely on these fellows to take down the fourth battlefield? Ridiculous. The expressions of Long Chen and the others changed slightly, as if they had known this would happen. Dongfang Jin, it's your turn. Long Chen said indifferently to Dongfang Jin as countless people sneered. Before the people who were fleeing in all directions could disperse, Dongfang Jin led 8,000 people and charged out. The 8,000 people were divided into groups of 500 people and formed a small square formation. Their speed was extremely fast. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan's people at the first defensive lines sneered at the dispersal of the first 20,000 people. Many of them even left the defensive line to chase after them. Most of them had relaxed. When they saw Dongfang Jin and the others attacking, they only casually moved the left wing of the battle formation to block. They all knew that Long Chen's tens of thousands of people were newly recruited, and the collapse of the first group made them completely relaxed. However, they quickly discovered that they were wrong. The 8,000 men led by Dongfang Jin were actually on par with them. Furthermore, every 500 people formed a small square formation. This square formation was also a kind of battle formation, and its movement speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, the venomous scorpion battle formation actually showed signs of collapsing. Damn it! Don't chase after that group of trash. These people are their main force. The fierce-looking half-saint shouted loudly. As soon as he gave the order, the people around him immediately realized the problem and quickly returned to the battle formation. The charge of the battle formation was like 7 or 8 people fighting a venomous scorpion demon beast. Seeing such a scene, the people from the various ancient clans retracted their disdain. That's more like it. At least it's passable. Although the people at the back are the main force and their combat quality and temperament are much better, it is still impossible for them to take down the fourth battlefield with the remaining 40,000 people. If the fourth battlefield could be taken down so easily, Longchen wouldn't have had a chance. The fierce battle between the two sides lasted for several hours. The more the fierce-looking half-saint fought, the more shocked he became. The battle formation that Dongfang Jin and his men were using was extremely simple, but it seemed to be an endless cycle. Every 500 people formed a square formation, and they all retreated after one attack. Although there were many flaws in the formation, it still made them feel unprecedented pressure. What kind of battle formation is this? It is obviously very simple, but it can't be broken no matter what. Many ancient clans who were watching the battle through the water screen were shocked. The firmament square formation seemed very simple, but once it was activated, the 8,000 people actually suppressed the people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. In the end, Dongfang Jin broke the back of the venomous scorpion battle formation and won a complete victory. The people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan either died or fled. As for the fierce-looking half-saint expert, he retreated at the first moment. His face was terrifyingly gloomy. After the first line of defense, there were several lines of defense. After Long Chen's victory in the first battle, everyone was guessing how many lines of defense he had broken through. In fact, at this moment, everyone was not optimistic about Long Chen's chances. Even if all of his remaining 40,000 people were like the ones led by Dongfang Jin, it was impossible for them to take down the fourth battlefield. However, when they heard Long Chen's next order, their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Attack with all your might and go straight to the hinterland of the fourth battlefield. Long Chen's order was like forcibly tearing a path through the layers of obstacles and entering the most dangerous part of the fourth battlefield. If they were careless, they would be attacked from both sides and would definitely die. Originally, everyone's opinion of Long Chen had changed slightly because of Dongfang Jin's battle. Now, they had completely defined him as a madman. He wanted to use only 40,000 people to go straight to the hinterland of the fourth battlefield. This was simply a suicidal attack. After the Bright Moon Ancient Clan massacred the entire fourth battlefield, there were at least 100,000 people available to be mobilized in order to consolidate the Clear Moon Lake. Seeing that nearly 30,000 people had formed a square formation in front of Long Chen and the others and were moving closer to the center to form a sharp sword, everyone turned pale with fright. Just like that, the army of 40,000 charged forward in a grandiose manner. Is this person really crazy? He wants to enter the hinterland of the fourth battlefield with only 40,000 people and win. The hatred between Long Chen and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan has long been irreconcilable. However, such a charge is tantamount to suicide. The Clear Moon Lake originally belonged to the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Many of the 2-star and 3-star ancient clans here are the confidants of the Bright Moon ancient clan. This time, the 4th battlefield has been massacred. I'm afraid that the 4th battlefield is already impregnable and filled with experts. Everyone nodded one after another. They all knew what the Clear Moon Lake in the 4th battlefield meant to the Bright Moon ancient clan. Therefore, the 4th battlefield was extremely dangerous at this moment. Look, they are really tearing through one obstacle after another and rushing straight to the hinterland of the 4th battlefield. A disciple of the sword worship ancient clan exclaimed. Long Chen and his 40,000 people were like a sharp sword piercing straight into the hinterland of the 4th battlefield. Behind them, there was a group of people following closely behind. Once they stopped, they would be surrounded, the 25,000 people led by Dongfang Jin and the 3 divine beast fighting souls turned pale. However, at this moment, they also knew that there was no way out. Only Long Chen and the 15,000 people behind him remained unchanged. These people were the most resilient people among the 60,000 people. They were also the team that Long Chen had personally trained. The roars were endless, and the entire 4th battlefield was in turmoil. After Long Chen led the army into the 4th battlefield, the first obstacle was to charge toward the center of the 4th battlefield. Chapter 476. The Battle of Decapitation. They charged straight into the heart of the 4th battlefield. Long Chen's words had caused the entire army of tens of thousands of people to be attacked from both front and rear. It had been 5 days since they entered the 4th battlefield. In 5 days, they had passed 7 checkpoints, 7 checkpoints. They did not stop at any checkpoint. Their footsteps did not even pause for a moment as they continued to charge forward. At this moment, there were 6 teams of people chasing after them from the checkpoints in front of them. The total number of people was close to 80,000 people. Among them, there were close to 20 half-saint experts. At first, these people were still hiding their feelings. They felt humiliated that Long Chen and the others had broken through the checkpoints repeatedly. However, their faces were now full of playfulness. After passing 7 checkpoints, Long Chen and the others had killed 2,000 people and lost 4,000 people. If it were not for his strange square formation that had a strong defensive power, they would have paid a painful price for charging into the heart of the 4th battlefield. Dongfang Jin and the others were as pale as paper. The remaining 10,000 people in front of them were also looking like they were about to die. They had not expected that they would really charge into the heart of the 4th battlefield under Long Chen's command. At this moment, the water screen outside the 4th battlefield was already empty. No one could see the images of those who had rushed into the heart of the 4th battlefield. However, they had all seen Long Chen's killing over the past few days. None of them had expected that Long Chen would really charge into the heart of the 4th battlefield. All the experts of the Bright Moon ancient clan station in the 4th battlefield are outside the Clear Moon Lake. There are close to 80,000 people behind them. There's no suspense in this battle anymore. I didn't expect that Long Chen, who was called a legend because he killed a saint, would do such a stupid thing. Now that he is attacked from both front and rear, how can he break through the encirclement? Why is he doing this? At the Clear Moon Lake. It was a sparkling and white lake. The water in the lake was also white, as pure as the moonlight. The lake was thousands of feet long and was not big. However, there were layers of formations outside it. There were more than 10 half-saint experts guarding the formations. We actually let him in. What a joke! A middle-aged man's voice was filled with killing intent. As soon as this person finished speaking, he rose into the air and walked out with dozens of people. Outside the Clear Moon Lake, in front of the last mountain. When the middle-aged man saw Long Chen, he couldn't help but laugh coldly. You're that Long Chen? Now that I see it, it's nothing much. You have tens of thousands of soldiers behind you, and we are blocking your path. I want to see what other tricks you have. Long Chen leaped out and stood in front of the crowd. He stared at the middle-aged Saint Realm man and said in a deep voice, "Since you're here, you must kill the enemy and behead him." Behead the enemy? As Long Chen's voice fell, everyone present was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. Even the middle-aged man couldn't help but sneer. He said coldly, "What a joke. Long Chen, aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? Although you have the experience of slaughtering a Saint Realm expert, it's not so easy to take down a Saint Realm expert. The people around him also sneered. In his mind, Long Chen had been here for a few days, which was the most ridiculous and funny thing. He was just putting himself in a dead end. Kill a saint? Yes, it seems like we'll have to kill a saint today. However, Sui didn't expect Long Chen to rise with his sword in hand. At the same time, the 15,000 people behind him moved for the first time. They didn't move, but they moved like thunder. The 15,000 people emitted a dazzling divine light as they shouted in unison, "Divine Guard Golden Body, Light." As the 15,000 people shouted, the golden light around them shone brightly. The people around them couldn't help but close their eyes. Then, each of them formed an obscure Dharma seal with their hands. For a moment, Long Chen's body emitted a dazzling divine light as he leaped up. His aura increased at a terrifying speed. As he stepped on the golden light, an aura that made the half-saint experts kneel spread out. Long Chen held his sword and rushed toward the middle-aged Saint Realm man. The Saint Realm man and the half-saint beside him moved. At this moment, their faces were unprecedentedly solemn. No one expected that Long Chen would attack as soon as they appeared and said a few words. Moreover, the power of this attack was a little too frightening. Rumble. One by one, the half-saint experts attacked Long Chen. Their bodies were instantly shattered. Under the golden light, Long Chen's combat strength seemed to have reached an unprecedented peak. The half-saint expert didn't stop Long Chen's golden light. He shouted, "I didn't expect this to be your trump card. You actually used some kind of Dharma seal to release the attacks of 15,000 people, but you're only a half-saint. You're not qualified to kill me." As he spoke, he slashed with his saber, trying to force Long Chen and the others to retreat. However, the words that Long Chen muttered made his scalp go numb. He couldn't help but tremble. Fusion of celestial techniques, heaven transformation sword. Long Chen's sword was like a rainbow. With his half-saint cultivation, he slashed 5 times. Each slash was a completely different celestial technique. In the blink of an eye, the 5 celestial techniques turned into a single sword. Crackle. Everywhere the sword chi passed, the body of a half-saint expert was actually turned into powder. The terrifying force actually caused everyone in the surroundings to not dare to take a step forward. How is this possible? Fusion of 5 celestial techniques. How old are you? How can you have such a high sword Dao cultivation? The middle-aged Saint Realm man roared unwillingly. At the same time, his half-saint power gushed out like a fountain. The long saber in his hand was also constantly wielding. However, no matter how he attacked, the sword didn't slow down. Crackle. The long sword slashed and the golden light disappeared. A half-saint expert was crushed into powder. His divine soul was also in Long Chen's hand. Hiss. The surrounding people turned pale with fright. Everyone retreated 1,000 meters in a daze. No one would have thought that the half-saint expert who had just been talking would die in a single blow. Long Chen's sword had made everyone tremble from the depths of their souls. Finally, everyone's eyes fell on the 15,000 people behind him. Although the golden light around these 15,000 people had dimmed slightly, they were still full of fighting spirit. How could this be? He killed our half-saint expert with a single blow. This is impossible. Who in the waste realm can defeat a half-saint expert with a single blow? What should we do now? A half-saint expert and a half-saint expert are no match for each other. What should we do? As soon as the half-saint expert appeared, he was killed by Long Chen at lightning speed. The entire scene became chaotic. A smile appeared on Long Chen's pale face. This was the effect he wanted. However, a few sneers interrupted his thoughts. 3 middle-aged men slowly walked out of the clear moon lake and disappeared. When they reappeared, they were standing above Long Chen and the others. What a terrifying sword technique. What a deep scheme. Chapter 477. Arrival of Jian Fantian. The appearance of the 3 members of the Nine Sons clan caused the expressions of Long Chen and the others to change. Everyone could feel the pressure of the saint stage from their bodies. Without a leader, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's members retreated one after another. Many semi-sage experts couldn't help but ask, "Why are you here? Why did you come out of the Clear Moon Lake?" The three saint stage powerhouses of the Nine Suns clan said indifferently, "The teleportation formation in the Clear Moon Lake has been completed. Our clan has also signed an alliance agreement with your Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Today, the three of us will help you kill Long Chen." Hiss. Everyone revealed a shocked expression when they heard this. Many people in front of Long Chen retreated a great deal. No one had expected that the Nine Suns clan would join forces with the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Furthermore, the teleportation array in the Clear Moon Lake had been built in advance. At this moment, the three sage stage experts had become an insurmountable mountain in front of everyone. The people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, who were originally in a mess because Long Chen had killed a saint stage powerhouse in a flash, regained their order at this moment. Moreover, they even followed the lead of the three saint stage powerhouses of the Nine Suns clan. The participation of the three saint stage powerhouses had caused a drastic change in the situation. The three saint realm experts stared at Long Chen with a mocking expression in their eyes, and they said coldly, "You should have known that this day would come since the day you killed Lai Yunhai of my clan. Today, my clan will use the blood of a few tens of thousands of you to wash away the humiliation of my clan. Originally, we signed an agreement with the Bright Moon Ancient Clan so that we could kill you with our own hands. I didn't expect that we would still underestimate you, however, it's not bad to kill all of you with my own hands." The three saints stared at Long Chen with murderous intent in their eyes. However, Long Chen didn't move from his spot. He only frowned when he heard that the teleportation array had been set up in advance. The teleportation formation in the Clear Moon Lake had been built in advance, which meant that the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had already sent some of the resources back to the clan. These things were undoubtedly timely help for the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, which was what Long Chen was most unwilling to see. Long Chen stared at the three of them. Not only was he not afraid, but he even sneered, "Today, I'll let the ancient clans witness the death of a saint stage powerhouse." With Long Chen's command, a disciple of the Donghuan clan behind him began to set up a formation. After a few breaths, a water screen appeared outside the fifth battlefield again. It was the scene of Long Chen and the others facing off. What's going on? Why are there three saints from the Nine Suns clan present? Where's the saint stage expert of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan in the fifth battlefield? Long Chen actually made it to the heart of the fourth battlefield. Long Chen and the three saints are at daggers drawn. He wants to fight the three saints of the Nine Suns Ancient Clan. Could it be that the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan have already formed an alliance? The Wasteland region is in complete chaos now. With the four major forces forming an alliance, one of them will definitely be destroyed. Long Chen and the others had personally set up the projection array formation. When everyone saw the depressing scene, they cried out in alarm. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan were both one-star ancient clans. Once the two clans formed an alliance, it meant that the entire Wasteland region's forces would be divided again. At this moment, the clan leader of the Xian Yuan clan and many other high-ranking officials had a gloomy expression on their faces. Their gazes gradually fell on the people from the Worshipper clan. The Worshipper clan and the Tsani clan had formed an alliance and controlled the fifth battlefield. The Xian Yuan clan controlled the third battlefield. The remaining two battlefields were completely occupied by the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan. If he wanted to fight, the best way was to form an alliance with the Worshipper clan. Only then would he be able to stand up to them. Where's your clan leader? It seems like we have to have a good talk about the division of forces in the Wasteland. The clan leader of the Xian Yuan clan asked one of the high-ranking officials from the Worshipper clan. However, the high-ranking officials from the Worshipper clan were dumbfounded. They said in a deep voice, "Our clan leader is in the fourth battlefield." As soon as these words came out, the clan leader of the Xian Yuan clan and the others were shocked. None of them had expected that the clan leader of the Worshipper clan, who had not been in the projection, would actually be in the fourth battlefield. The clan leader of the Xianyuan clan took a deep breath and stared at the light screen. He said in a deep voice, "Did your clan leader already know that the Nine Suns Ancient Clan would form an alliance with the Bright Moon Ancient Clan? However, if he goes in alone, he can only save Long Chen. It's impossible for him to defeat 3 Saint Realm experts and so many people." The clan leader of the Xianyuan clan had already made up his mind to form an alliance with the Xianyuan clan. However, the high-ranking officials of the Nine Suns Ancient Clan snorted coldly and said, "Even if that old man Jian Fantian went in, so what? He's only a 6th-level Saint Realm expert. It's impossible for him to fight against so many people at the same time." Everyone nodded. Jian Fantian's arrival made everyone feel that Long Chen's chances of survival were higher. However, since the Nine Suns Ancient Clan had already formed an alliance with the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, they had 3 Saint Realm experts and many affiliated forces. The 4th battlefield was already impregnable. In the 4th battlefield, after the 3 Saint Realm experts of the Nine Suns Ancient Clan had a discussion with Long Chen, they shouted coldly and ordered the various forces to attack from all directions. For a moment, the drawbacks of Long Chen rushing into the heart of the 4th battlefield began to show. Enemies swarmed in from all directions and almost drowned them in an instant. The sound of fighting lingered in the air as Long Chen soared into the sky with a long sword in his hand. The 15,000 people behind him turned into profound gold and their combat strength was monstrous. Wherever they went, no one could stop them. However, the forces led by the 3 Divine Beast War Souls and the others could not help but feel a little powerless under the huge advantage of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. However, by relying on the cycle of the Sky Dome formation, they managed to control the casualties. In the blink of an eye, the 3 Saint Realm experts were about to rush toward Long Chen. However, Long Chen suddenly shouted, "If you don't make a move, I'll run away." The 3 Saint Realm experts were stunned. Before they could react, they felt an incomparably powerful pressure descending from the sky. 2 of the Saint Realm experts' faces changed drastically as they retreated 10,000 meters back. The other person retreated a little slower. Rumble. A strong explosion suddenly resounded in the entire space. The 2 Saint Realm experts looked at the scene in front of them in a daze. They saw that the Saint Realm expert who retreated a little slower was cut into 2 by a sword light. The sword light passed through the entire ground, leaving behind a gully that was tens of thousands of feet long. It was surrounded by extremely pure saint energy. Jian Fantian stood in the sky with a long sword in his hand. The moment he looked at Long Chen, there was a touch of gratitude on his face. Then, he said to Long Chen, "Originally, I just wanted to repay you for your kindness. I didn't expect that I would become an important part of your victory in the 4th battlefield." Jian Fantian looked at Long Chen and sighed. Originally, he had doubts about Long Chen's victory in the 4th battlefield. However, it seemed that Long Chen had already won the 4th battlefield. "Jian Fantian, I didn't expect this person to be able to get you to come personally. Even so, you can't save him today." Chapter 478. Imparting immortal techniques. It had to be said that the appearance of the Nine Suns Clan's Saint Realm powerhouses had a great reassuring effect on the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's forces in the 4th battlefield. Even though Jian Fantian appeared at this moment with such a powerful sword strike, no one gave up resisting. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan's forces, which had the advantage of numbers, felt like they had kicked an iron plate when facing Long Chen's army of less than 40,000 people. If it weren't for the 3 Saint Realm powerhouses of the Nine Suns Clan, Long Chen, and the 15,000 people who were as hard as profound gold, the 4th battlefield would have been in danger. The 3 Saint Realm powerhouses of the Nine Suns Clan stood in front of Jian Fantian. The person who had just been cut in half had already recovered his body. However, his face was full of fear as he stared at Jian Fantian and said, You have reached the 7th Order Saint Realm and stepped into the late stage." The 3 Saint Realm powerhouses, who were originally solemn and confident, now looked dignified. The Saint Realm powerhouses of the various ancient clans were already at the peak of the Saint Realm, and most of them were at the intermediate Saint Realm. The late-stage Saint Realm was already extremely rare, and there were almost no people who had broken through to the Saint Realm. At least, there hadn't been any almighty above the Saint Realm and the various ancient clans. Outside the fourth battlefield, the expressions of the various ancient clans were different. The people of the Xian Yuan clan were shocked, but there was also a hint of joy. With the alliance between the Nine Suns clan and the Bright Moon Ancient clan, the Sword Worship clan would definitely ally with the Xian Yuan clan. This way, they would be able to compete for the desolate domain. Now that Jian Fantian's cultivation had improved, it was naturally good news for him. In contrast, the people of the Nine Suns clan had ugly expressions. Now that Jian Fantian's cultivation had broken through to the late-stage Saint Realm, no one would be able to kill him if he wanted to protect Long Chen. Jian Fantian, that old fart, has been stuck at the 6th Order Saint Realm because of the limitations of his sword Dao. How did he step into the late-stage Saint Realm now? The patriarch of the Nine Suns clan snorted coldly. However, as soon as his voice fell, many people turned their attention to Long Chen on the water screen. Long Chen's gratitude to Long Chen made many speculations, but they couldn't help but shake their heads fiercely. Long Chen was only a half-step Saint Realm, so how could he guide Jian Fantian late Saint Realm? At this moment, on the water screen, the 3 Saint Stage experts in the 4th battlefield were already fighting against Jian Fantian and Long Chen. The sky was filled with Saint energy, and the battle between the few of them made everyone gasp. Jian Fantian had stepped into the late stage of the Sage Realm, and he had completely suppressed the 2 Sage Realm powerhouses by himself. On the other hand, Long Chen's people were also shocked. Long Chen had killed a Saint Realm expert at the foot of Mount Kun that day. Moreover, he had stepped into the semi-Saint Realm. He had already become a legend. Now that everyone had seen it with their own eyes, they couldn't help but be moved. He was only a half-step saint, yet he wasn't at a disadvantage when fighting a saint. Especially his sword technique, it was terrifying to the extreme. Every single sword strike was an immortal art. In just a few hundred breaths of time, the 2 saint-level experts under Jian Fantian's command were covered in terrifying wounds. It seemed like they wouldn't be able to hold on any longer. At this moment, the 2 of them revealed ferocious expressions and shouted in unison, "Sacred blood transformation." As soon as they finished speaking, the saint energy in their bodies turned into the color of blood, as violent as thunder. Bang! The attacks of the 2 instantly forced Jian Fantian back. Jian Fantian stared at the 2 of them and frowned. He said coldly, "This is a secret technique obtained in the Divine Corpse realm." Long Chen's face darkened slightly. In the Waste region, Saint Realm experts were already considered the pinnacle experts. There were very few secret techniques that they could use. However, he didn't expect the 2 of them to have the same secret technique that could raise their cultivation base. Moreover, they had obtained it from the Divine Corpse realm. Seeing that Jian Fantian's strength was falling short of his desire, Long Chen spread out his divine thought completely and sent a voice transmission to Jian Fantian. "I see that your sword principle is on the path of Yang, and there's already a hint of craftiness in it. You're close to mastery. However, although the sword technique you're using is a 9th grade Saint Realm, which is a good grade, it's only left with a feminine intent and no Yang intent. I'll teach you 3 immortal arts. It's up to you how much you can comprehend." Long Chen retreated 10,000 meters in a row, but his divine thought frantically rushed toward Jian Fantian. Jian Fantian was stunned. He was blasted 10,000 meters away by 2 Saint Realm experts, but he didn't care about his injuries at all. He stared at Long Chen. Long Chen had actually taught him 3 immortal arts with the power of his divine thought. Just as Long Chen had said, although Jian Fantian was the patriarch of the Worshippers clan, he had never cultivated any immortal arts. The reason was that he didn't have a compatible sword principle. There was only a 9th grade Saint Realm sword principle that was compatible with the feminine intent, and he could only barely use it. After all, immortal arts could only be obtained from the Divine Corpse realm. The 1-star ancient clans could only obtain them from the Divine Corpse realm. Now, according to Long Chen, the 3 immortal arts could be said to be extremely compatible with his sword principle. Jian Fantian had been immersed in sword principle all his life. At the same time, he was the patriarch of the Worshippers clan. One could imagine how talented he was. In less than 100 breaths, his attacks suddenly became fierce. Immortal art, blazing ice flame. As he roared, the two Saint Realm experts were instantly sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. Almost half of their bodies were shattered. This scene caused the surrounding people to turn pale with horror. No one knew why Jian Fantian's combat strength had suddenly increased and why he had used an immortal art that was compatible with his aura. At this moment, the forces of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan in the fourth battlefield were faintly uneasy. Jian Fantian and Longchen had shocked them too much. Longchen nodded slightly, but he wasn't in a hurry to determine the outcome of the battle with the Saint Realm experts in front of him. After all, he was only a half-step saint. Although he could defeat a Saint Realm expert, he would have to pay a price. Jian Fantian's comprehension of the three immortal arts was almost the same as Long Chen's. With these three immortal arts, today's battle was over. Jian Fantian was like an overflowing lake that couldn't find a way to vent. He had already understood what kind of sword principle he needed. No one could comprehend these three immortal arts so quickly if they were given to anyone else. On the contrary, if it were a few other immortal arts, Jian Fantian wouldn't be able to comprehend them so quickly. How could this be? Not only did you break through to the 6th level of the Saint Realm, but you also obtained such a compatible immortal art. The Nine Suns clan's Saint Realm expert finally revealed a look of fear. Unfortunately, Jian Fantian's sword didn't show any mercy, and the two of them were forced to retreat. Immortal art, Holy Light Ghost Slash. As Jian Fantian's second voice fell, the two Saint Realm experts' bodies shattered at the same time, and their divine souls appeared. When Jian Fantian walked toward the Saint Realm expert in front of Long Chen, his face turned pale and he quickly retreated toward the clear moon lake. He didn't expect Jian Fantian's combat strength to suddenly increase, and he even obtained a compatible immortal art. Bang! However, he was killed by Jian Fantian before he could even run 1,000 meters. Jian Fantian was about to destroy their divine souls when he was stopped by Long Chen. Chapter 479. Alliance. Several Saint Realm divine souls stared at Long Chen in horror. They had long heard that Long Chen had the ability to suppress divine souls, but now they were still inexplicably terrified. They were all Sage Realm powerhouses, but now, in front of Long Chen, their souls actually had no power to resist at all. How could this be? A Saint-level expert is dead. The Nine Suns clan's Saint stage experts are all dead. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan has lost this battle. Run, run, run! Horrified screams came from all directions. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan's forces in the fourth battlefield, which were already trembling with fear, completely collapsed. With Long Chen and Jian Fantian in the fourth battlefield, they no longer had the confidence to fight. Jian Fantian walked to Long Chen's side and couldn't help but look at the battlefield. His pupils suddenly shrank. The Tsangi clan's army, which originally had less than 40,000 soldiers, was now left with 30,000 soldiers after the battle. On the other hand, nearly 30,000 of those who had fled had died. This was especially true for the 15,000 people who had joined forces with Long Chen to kill a Sage Realm expert. After a single battle, they had actually slaughtered close to 10,000 people, yet their losses were less than 1,000. Such battle prowess was simply too terrifying. After all, the people in the fourth battlefield were people who had survived the first battle. Their strength was not to be underestimated. Were these really the people that Long Chen had recruited from the wandering aboriginals in such a short period of time? Jian Fantian couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. He looked at Long Chen with a serious expression. Although we've defeated the Nine Suns clan and the Bright Moon Ancient clan and won the fourth battlefield, the teleportation array at the Clear Moon Lake was built in advance because of the participation of the Nine Suns clan. I'm afraid that when the Divine Corpse realm opens, the two great clans will still have the power to fight, Jian Fantian said as he looked at the Clear Moon Lake behind him. Long Chen nodded. It was less than a month before the opening of the Divine Corpse realm. Whether or not the entire wasteland could be pacified depended on this secret realm. With a wave of his hand, Long Chen collected the souls of the three Saint stage experts and walked toward the Clear Moon Lake with Jian Fantian. At the center of the Clear Moon Lake, there was a complicated teleportation array. However, the situation at the bottom of the Clear Moon Lake was completely different. The left side of the lake was filled with white stones, while the right side was filled with piles of ordinary stones. If one looked carefully, the color of the lake water was very different. Longchen snorted coldly and shattered the teleportation array below with a single sword strike. Then, he said in a deep voice, "In the next month, prepare to enter the Divine Corpse realm with all your strength. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan will definitely need a realm-crossing stone. Regardless of whether the various clans within the Divine Corpse realm have obtained what they need, the moment the Divine Corpse realm closes is probably the moment the chaotic battle begins." When Jian Fantian heard the words world-crossing stone, his face involuntarily darkened. This item was indeed rumored to be in the Divine Corpse realm. If the Bright Moon Ancient Clan obtained this item, they would be able to connect to the Heaven Domain again. At that time, all those who opposed them would be doomed eternally. Under Jian Fantian's request, Longchen took away the Clear Moon Lake and plundered all the resources in the fourth battlefield. The corners of Jian Fantian's eyes twitched when he saw Longchen's actions. Even though the various ancient clans had seized control of the battlefield, they could only station their troops here. There had never been a case where Longchen took away everything directly. On the other hand, he was also surprised that Longchen had such a method. However, although he was puzzled, he did not ask much. After all, he also knew that everyone had their own secrets. It was not good to continue asking. Many of Longchen's remaining 40,000 people were killing the people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Many of them had a deep hatred for the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. After a full 3 days, Longchen, Jian Fantian, and the others finally left the fourth battlefield. At this time, outside the fourth battlefield, the projection of the Nine Suns clan had already disappeared. On the contrary, the Xianyuan clan, the Swordsman clan, and many neutral 2-star and 3-star ancient clans remained. When they saw Longchen and the clan leader of the Swordsman clan walking out, they were all shocked. The clan leader of the Xianyuan clan directly congratulated Jian Fantian through the array. He said in a deep voice, "Congratulations on stepping into the Mastery Saint stage. I didn't expect you to be so compatible with your celestial technique. It's really rare." The clan leader of the Xianyuan clan looked a little envious. Celestial techniques could only be obtained in the Divine Corpse realm by chance. It was even more difficult to obtain a celestial technique that was compatible with oneself. Jian Fantian shook his head slightly and could not help but look at Longchen. Longchen had no intention of explaining. He just led the people behind him to stand aside. The clan leader of the Xianyuan clan and the leaders of the ancient clans looked at each other. Then, they said to Jian Fantian solemnly, "Now that the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns clan have joined hands, there will be a bloody battle in the Divine Corpse realm. I hope your clan will sign an alliance with our clan. This is the only way to fight." During this period of time, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan has been full of hatred for us. If we let the two clans obtain what they need from the Divine Corpse realm, our consequences will not be good. Everyone asked Jian Fantian for an alliance. The alliance between the Nine Suns clan and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had completely divided the entire desolate region into two forces. If the Swordsman clan and the Xianyuan clan continued to act independently, they would be defeated one by one. Many elders of the Swordsman clan nodded and looked at Jian Fantian. The ancient clans had taken the initiative to form an alliance because of the combat strength Jian Fantian had displayed today. This was undoubtedly a good start for the Swordsman clan. Jian Fantian nodded. He naturally knew the importance of this matter. He said, "The Swordsman clan welcomes everyone to form an alliance." The various clans nodded and cupped their fists before leaving. Although many people were a little surprised by Longchen's actions today, all of their eyes were on Jian Fantian at this moment. Longchen didn't care. After all, although there were some regrets in this attack on the fourth battlefield, the harvest was extremely rich. Seeing that Longchen was about to leave, Jian Fantian stopped Longchen and bowed deeply. "Why don't you return to the Swordsman clan with me and discuss the matter of the alliance?" Jian Fantian was grateful to Long Chen. If it weren't for Long Chen's letter back then, he was afraid that he wouldn't have been able to set foot in the Mastery Saint realm. Today, Long Chen directly taught him 3 celestial techniques. These things were enough to increase his combat strength by 40%. The people of the Swordsman clan were very puzzled by Jian Fantian's actions. They felt that Jian Fantian had always attached too much importance to Long Chen. Long Chen's talent was outstanding and he had amazed everyone with a single brilliant feat, but after all, he was only a half-step saint. In terms of strength, he couldn't compete with a 1-star ancient clan at this moment. Long Chen nodded and frowned slightly. He looked at the longsword in his hand and his mind fell on the sword pool of the Swordsman clan. Hearing Long Chen's words, Jian Fantian's entire body trembled slightly as he stared at the sword in Long Chen's hand. Jian Fantian's voice trembled as he said, Your Excellency, could this sword be a divine rank weapon? Divine level weapon. It was rumored that only divine weapons could bear a sword spirit. The sword worship clan had been established in the desolate region for many years. Every member of the clan cultivated sword arts, using the sword Dao as the cornerstone of their cultivation. However, their clan had never obtained or even seen the existence of a sword spirit. Long Chen didn't hide it and nodded. Jian Fantian smiled bitterly. His clan had been guarding the sword pool for generations, and because of the afterglow of this place, they had become one of the 4 great 1-star ancient clans. However, no one had ever stepped into the sword pool. So, the way to enter was through the sword spirit. What was a sword? What was a sword? Jian Fantian looked at the 3 faintly visible words above the sword pool and shook his head. The sword pool Forbidden Land existed here before my clan appeared. No one in my clan knows what is hidden inside, but I know a place that is related to this place, Jian Fantian said thoughtfully. After saying that, he motioned for Long Chen to follow behind him. After a few turns, Long Chen and Jian Fantian arrived at the Sword Worship Clan's library and took out an ancient book from a secret compartment. The black and gray lines on the ancient book were extremely tattered, and the paper was made of an unknown material. It looked shabby, but the words were clear. This book was obtained when my clan tried to expand the area around the sword pool. This book cannot be damaged by swords or sabers. Even with my saint stage power, I can't break it. Not only that, there is a story recorded in this book. It is a story about swords. If my clan is anything related to the sword pool, it would only be this ancient book. Jian Fantian's words were sincere. Long Chen took the ancient book and thanked Jian Fantian with cupped fists. Jian Fantian said, You helped me step into the late-stage saint stage and generously taught me 3 celestial techniques. If there is anything you need from my sword worship clan, please don't hesitate to tell me. Jian Fantian left as soon as he finished speaking, as if he didn't care that Long Chen was alone in the library. However, after thinking about it, why would a person who could easily obtain immortal techniques care about the treasures of the Sword Worship Clan's library? Long Chen opened the ancient book and saw the words Ethereal Realm written on it. Ethereal Realm? Long Chen frowned slightly. He had never heard of this realm. Could it be the space under the sword pool, above the water? After thinking for a moment, Long Chen shook his head and stopped thinking about it. With his current strength, he couldn't enter the sword pool, let alone charge out of the water. He continued to flip through the book. Then, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and there was excitement in his heart. It was a picture book with green lines intertwined. The picture was divine. Although the book wasn't big, the brows were clear. A man and a woman were vividly depicted on the paper. The woman looked like the sword spirit he had met that day, and the man was the other person in the sword pool. Long Chen gradually became immersed in the book as he flipped through the pages. The book was a story about a man, a woman, and a sword. However, the ending of the story didn't seem to be good. Long Chen seemed to be deeply immersed in the book at first glance. Long Chen didn't wake up until the next morning when a servant came to pass the order. When he looked at the book in his hand, he felt extremely strange. He had been reading the book for an entire night, but he still hadn't finished it. The book didn't seem thick, but it seemed to be endless. Even when Longchen opened it from the back, he still only read the contents of the first page. There were no changes on every page. Clan leader Longchen, all the clans are waiting for you. Our clan leader said that you must be present for this alliance. The messenger from the Jian clan outside the door said again. He seemed to be a little anxious. Longchen got up and walked out of the library toward the conference hall. At this moment, all the clans were present in the conference hall. Among them were the two one-star ancient clans, the Xianyuan clan and the Sword Worship clan. There were also many 2- and 3-star ancient clans. These 2- and 3-star ancient clans were originally independent clans, but they were now willing to become vassals. Why do we have to wait for Longchen? The Zhangji clan has already signed an alliance with your clan. We can discuss it first. The person in charge of the Xianyuan clan asked in a deep voice. The people next to him echoed, although Longchen of the Zhangji clan is the fastest rising of the younger generation and has a promising future, we don't have to wait for him if he doesn't come. That's right. The matter of our alliance will be decided by your Sword Worship clan. Chapter 481. A thing of importance. The various ancient races had long since lost their patience, but they had no idea why Jian Fantian insisted on waiting for Longchen to come. Seeing Longchen slowly walking over with Dongfang Jin and the others behind him, many people who were waiting couldn't help but snort coldly. One of the ancient race tribesmen could not help but whisper, "To think that you would make us wait for such a long time. Even though you're famous, you're still a junior after all. You don't have to be so arrogant, do you?" The Yazi fighting spirit stood in front of Longchen and its face darkened. Just as it was about to speak, it was stopped by Longchen. Longchen didn't pay attention to the comments of the people around him. He slowly walked to a corner and sat down. Jian Fantian looked at Longchen and nodded with a smile. Then, he said, "Today, the alliance of the various clans will be enemies with the Bright Moon Ancient clan and the Nine Suns clan." Everyone nodded one after another. Then, they went through various ceremonies before they finally formed an alliance. As soon as the alliance was formed, the people in charge of the various clans stepped forward and bowed down. The sword-bearing clan has both talent and virtue. We are willing to make you the leader of this alliance. That's true. Since we have formed an alliance, we naturally need an alliance leader. The sword-bearing clan is fully deserving of this position. The Divine Corpse realm is about to open. We are willing to listen to the orders of the Sword Service clan. Cheers rose one after another. Ever since Jian Fantian revealed his cultivation base at the Mastery Saint stage in the 4th battlefield and killed 2 Saint stage powerhouses from the Nine Suns clan, everyone had witnessed his strength. Just as everyone was discussing animatedly, Jian Fantian stood up and pressed his hands down slightly in front of everyone. When everyone quieted down, his eyes gradually fell on Longchen. Jian Fantian pondered for a moment before saying, "If everyone really trusts me, I do have a candidate for the alliance leader." The people in charge of the various clans looked at each other in shock. Only the Xianyuan clan and the Worshipper clan could be mentioned in the same breath, and the Xianyuan clan was willing to let the Worshipper clan be the leader of the alliance. Who was the person that Jian Fantian said was qualified to be the alliance master? After everyone made their guesses, they followed Jian Fantian's gaze and finally looked at Longchen. It was only then that Jian Fantian laughed and said loudly, "Our alliance will have Longchen as its leader." Whoosh! Everyone around was shocked. No one would have thought that the reason why Jian Fantian rejected the position of alliance master was because he wanted to give it to Longchen. Longchen was also startled, but soon after, he shook his head slightly. He did not care about the position of alliance chief. Moreover, the people in charge of the various clans would not tolerate a young person as the alliance chief. No! How can we, the people of the various clans, entrust such an important task to a youngster? Even though his combat strength is monstrous, and he can fight a Saint Realm expert as a half-saint, he acts rashly. If it wasn't for your help in the 4th battlefield, he would have probably died there. If your sword-worshipping clan isn't willing to be the alliance leader, we will elect a new one. The people of the various races did not want Long Chen to become the alliance leader. When they attacked the fourth battlefield that day, in everyone's eyes, Long Chen had already lost. They did not see the scene of him killing a Saint Realm expert with the power of the battle formation because the formation was interrupted. On the contrary, when the Nine Suns clan appeared, Long Chen used the power of the formation to transmit the image. Everyone subconsciously thought that Jian Fantian had killed all the Saint Realm experts and that Long Chen had only assisted him from the side. Long Chen did not intend to explain, nor did he take the initiative to ask for the position of Alliance Chief. He only sat at the side. However, Jian Fantian did not seem to intend to give up just like that. Instead, he continued to say, Long Chen sent a message to me before this battle and asked me to launch a surprise attack. Not only that, but I also broke through because of Long Chen's guidance in the 3 celestial techniques. Everyone's expression changed drastically when they heard Jian Fantian's words. Then, they stared at him in a daze. The person in charge of the Xian Yuan clan could not help but exclaim, "You're saying that you haven't broken through for many years because of Long Chen's guidance? How is that possible? He's only a half-step Saint Realm expert. It's fine if your clan doesn't want to be the alliance leader, but why do you have to say such despicable words? It's simply a joke. How could a half-step Saint Realm expert like him know that you're just a late-stage Saint Realm expert? It's rumored that this person has endless celestial techniques and can kill saints. Is it true?" Seeing that everyone still did not believe him, Jian Fantian smiled bitterly and handed over the faith and jade pendant that Long Chen had given him that day. "Long Chen sent a message to me that day. You'll know when you see it. Don't you know what kind of person I, Jian Fantian, am?" Jian Fantian seemed to have made up his mind. Everyone's divine consciousness landed on the faith and jade pendant. Then, they were all shocked. If this was true, then Long Chen could be the alliance leader. After a short noisy discussion, everyone was still somewhat hesitant. Many people still thought that Long Chen was not qualified enough. At this time, Long Chen slowly stood up from his seat, walked to the center of the hall, and said, "You don't have to do this. The purpose of the alliance is to resist the Nine Suns clan and the Bright Moon Ancient clan. The key to completely defeating the Bright Moon Ancient clan and the Nine Suns clan is the Divine Corpse Realm. The Boundary Crossing Stone and the Nine Suns True Spirit and the Divine Corpse Realm. Apart from these 2 items, try to reduce the items that they can obtain as much as possible." Long Chen's words made everyone quiet down, and they nodded one after another. These 2 items would indeed be the biggest variables in this battle. The Boundary Crossing Stone could be used to rebuild the passage between the Bright Moon Ancient clan and the Heaven Domain, and the Nine Suns True Spirit was rumored to be something that the ancestor of the Nine Suns clan had left in the Divine Corpse Realm. However, the 2 ancient clans had never obtained these 2 items before, so what was there to be afraid of this time? Only Long Chen knew that the 2 clans had already known the approximate location of these 2 items, but they would have to pay a great price to obtain them. Now that things had come to this, the 2 clans would definitely go all out to obtain these 2 items. After a pause, Long Chen continued, "In fact, there are a few items in the Divine Corpse Realm that are extremely useful to some of your clans. For example, the Fire Spirit Pearl of the Xian Yuan clan and the Sword Heart Stone of the Feng Jian clan." At this time, everyone's expression changed, and they stared at Long Chen. Among them, the people from the Xian Yuan clan exclaimed, "The Fire Spirit Pearl. Does the Fire Spirit Pearl really exist in the Divine Corpse Realm?" Jian Fantian was the same, and he stared at Long Chen. Compared to the Bright Moon Ancient clan and the Nine Suns clan, no one knew what the 2 clans were looking for in the Divine Corpse Realm, but how did Long Chen know so clearly? Long Chen nodded. Although he knew about these items, it was not easy to obtain them. Compared to the other 4 secret realms of the Desolate Ancient Clan, the Divine Corpse Realm was too terrifying. Long Chen knew in his previous life that all the ancient clans in the Desolate region had always been active in the periphery of the Divine Corpse Realm. No one had ever entered the key areas of the Divine Corpse Realm. Chapter 482. Return of the Soul. Long Chen's words were to let everyone know the importance of the opening of the Divine Corpse realm. The Divine Corpse realm was the most mysterious realm in the center of the ancient desolate land. There were endless opportunities hidden inside, and it was also the place where the 4 one-star ancient clans had been fighting for a long time. Hearing Long Chen's words, everyone nodded. Just as Long Chen said, the ancient clans would definitely not act independently like before when they entered the Divine Corpse realm. It was very likely that a chaotic battle would break out. Not only that, but the ancient clans still held back when they entered the Divine Corpse realm. But this time, they would probably pay any price for the World Crossing Stone. After a long while, under Jian Fantian's repeated recommendation, everyone finally agreed that Long Chen would be the alliance leader, but he had to be supervised by Jian Fantian and the Xianyuan clan leader. If there was anything wrong, they would immediately replace it. Long Chen smiled bitterly. No matter how he rejected it, Jian Fantian still insisted that Long Chen be the alliance leader. It's less than 10 days before the opening of the Divine Corpse realm. You all should prepare. Long Chen said to everyone. Everyone nodded and was about to leave. Long Chen seemed to have thought of something and called out to everyone, prepare an insect-eating beast. It's best if it's at the late-stage monarch realm. Long Chen's words made everyone frown. An insect-eating beast was an extremely ugly beast. It was born to eat snakes and insects. It was very disgusting. An insect-eating beast? Prepare this beast for what? Although this thing's grade isn't high, it's very difficult to catch. Long Chen, could it be that you're still brooding over what happened just now? What insect-eating beast? It's not like we haven't entered the Divine Corpse realm before. Why should we prepare this beast? Everyone who was about to leave stopped in their tracks. They felt that Long Chen was deliberately teasing them. Long Chen frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, since I'm the alliance leader now, this is my first order. Before entering the Divine Corpse realm, everyone must bring an insect-eating beast. With that, Long Chen turned around and left. The members of the various ancient clans also snorted coldly. Fortunately, Jian Fantian spoke up, everyone, there is no need to be like this. Long Chen is not a person who can be judged by common sense. He must have his reasons for making such a request. Now that he is the alliance master, why don't all of you just follow his orders? After the brief alliance, Long Chen mysteriously became the leader of the alliance. This made many members of the Sword Worship clan rather displeased. They really did not understand why Jian Fantian would hand over the position of alliance chief to someone else. As the various ancient clans left the Sword Worship clan, Long Chen did not leave. He sat in front of the sword pond and flipped through the green book. His entire body sank into it. 2 days passed just like that. When Long Chen came back to his senses, his sword was already at his side. The woman's soul appeared once again on the scabbard. However, she did not say anything and merely stared at the sword pool. After a long time, when the woman dissipated, Long Chen let out a long sigh and left the Sword Worship clan, embarking on the path to the Zhangji clan. When he returned to the Zhangji clan, there were less than 3 days left before the Divine Corpse realm opened. During these 3 days, Long Chen gave many tasks, one of which was to search for insect-eating beasts. He specially sealed the beasts in everyone's storage rings with a formation. During the other days, Long Chen was completely immersed in refining a pill. Seeing that the day was approaching, Jian Shersan came to invite Long Chen to come out of seclusion. When the door was opened, Jian Shersan's expression changed slightly. He felt a gloomy aura rush towards him. Jian Shersan could not help but ask, Master, aren't you refining pills? Why is there such a strange aura? Long Chen smiled but did not say anything. He slowly opened his right hand, and there were 3 pills in it. However, there seemed to be ghosts roaring above these 3 pills, as if they were about to break out of the pills. The ghostly aura on them was like a tide, emitting a strange aura that sent chills down one's spine. Long Chen said, take one of these pills. Be careful when you use it. This is called the Cursed Soul Pill. It is a poisonous pill that I refined with the soul of a Saint Realm cultivator. It has no rank. However, once used, even a Saint Realm cultivator's soul will be shattered. Poisonous pill? A poisonous pill refined with the soul of a Saint Realm cultivator? Jianshi-san could not help but be shocked. Longchen spoke of this pill lightly, but he was afraid that no one in the Waste Realm could refine this pill. At least no one could completely control or even refine a Saint Realm cultivator's soul. Jianshi-san took the pill. He naturally knew the value of this item. This was a life-saving item given to him by Longchen. Longchen patted Jianshi-san's shoulder, indicating that he should gather all the experts above the human emperor realm. Then Longchen gave the 2 pills to Qing Xian and Yi Hailan. Although the 3 of them had the cultivation of a heaven-defying Tao disciple, once they encountered a Saint Realm cultivator, they would have almost no combat power. This pill could give them a great defensive effect. There were countless opportunities in the Divine Corpse realm. Longchen was willing to let them go together. If there was a chance, he could help them step into the half-saint realm. This way, they would have the power to protect themselves. After all, according to Longchen's guess, although the Battle of Heaven Wasteland had been postponed, it would definitely appear after the Divine Corpse realm opened. During this period, Longchen had to deal with the Bright Moon clan and the Nine Suns clan. Rumble. In the afternoon, thunder suddenly rolled in the sky of the Waste Realm, and the whole place darkened. Above the endless sky, a huge space crack appeared out of thin air, and the whole space pulsed rhythmically. Looking up, in the space crack above the vault of the sky, there was a boundless giant stone between heaven and earth. The giant stone was broken, but its shape could still be seen clearly. It was like a huge stone sculpture of a human. Thump, 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 a series of pulsating sounds became more and more intense, spreading throughout the Waste Realm. Longchen stared at the sky and couldn't help but frown. This pulsating sound made him feel a burst of palpitations. Jianshi-san and the others were also pale. The 3 mythological beast war souls looked at each other, their faces full of horror, and then quietly walked to Longchen's side. The Kirin woman bent down and whispered in Longchen's ear, "My lord, this is not a secret realm, this is the body of the Divine God clan from the Archean era." The Archean era? The Divine God clan? Longchen's pupils suddenly shrank. In other words, this thing came from 100,000 years ago. Why didn't you say so earlier? Longchen frowned and asked. The 3 mythological beast war souls couldn't help but smile bitterly. Although we remember this huge stone sculpture, we didn't think it was the body of the Divine God clan, but now that we are here in person, this pulsating sound can't be wrong. This sound is the ancient language of the Divine God clan. Longchen asked in a deep voice, "Ancient language? What does this sound mean?" Chapter 483. Divine Corpse Realm Soul Return. Longchen frowned. If it weren't for the 3 Divine Beast Battle Souls, he really knew nothing about the Divine Corpse Realm. Based on his previous life's experience, he only knew that some of the opportunities in the Divine Corpse Realm were located, but the heartbeat was actually in the ancient language of the Divine Race. This was something he never expected. "Tell me everything you know about the Celestial God clan along the way." As Longchen spoke, he led the Zhangji clan's troops towards the place where the Divine Corpse Realm had appeared. The 3 Divine Beast Battle Souls, Jianshi-san, Yi Hailan, and the others followed closely behind. At the same time, almost all the ancient clans of the Waste Realm rushed toward the Divine Corpse Realm. On the 3rd day after Longchen and the others set off, they met up with the Sword-Bearing clan and the others. Then, they rushed from the 5th battlefield to the Divine Corpse Realm. After more than 10 days, when they arrived in front of the Divine Corpse Realm, they couldn't help but sigh. The huge human-shaped statue in the sky covered the sky as if a person was lying between heaven and earth, but there was no sign of life on it. Divine Corpse Realm, Longchen stood in place with a heavy heart. He originally thought that this was just a Divine Corpse Realm similar to the other 4 Divine Corpse Realms, or a place of inheritance left behind by someone. But now that he heard the 3 Divine Beast Battle Souls, he couldn't help but feel a little scared. The Divine Race was an ancient clan from 100,000 years ago. For generations, they were the strongest in the continent and were as famous as many divine beasts of the immemorial era. This was also why the three divine beast battle souls knew so much about them. The divine race was also known as the undying race and was an extremely terrifying existence in the immemorial era. But for some reason, this race was exterminated in just a short 100 years. No one would have thought that after this race died, their bodies would turn into the divine corpse realm and hide in the waste realm. According to the three divine beast battle souls in the ancient language of the divine race, this divine corpse realm probably didn't die out, but was looking for a soul that could revive him, soul return. The three divine beast war souls even advised Longchen not to enter the immortal's corpse realm. There were too many unknowns inside, and this place was definitely not just a place of opportunity. Unlike Longchen, the rest of the ancient clans were extremely excited. Even Jian Fantian was the same. The Xianyuan clan and the other ancient clans also arrived. In an instant, countless people had gathered around the giant statue formed by the god's corpse. However, these people were clearly divided into two groups, with the huge statue as the center, 10,000 meters away from Longchen, and the others were the powerhouses of the Nine Sun Ancient Clan and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. They were very far apart. The higher-ups of the two clans saw Longchen immediately, and their eyes were filled with murderous intent. If it weren't for Longchen, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan wouldn't have ended up like this. The Nine Suns Clan would not do the same. In fact, the Nine Suns Clan had originally planned to secretly cooperate with the Bright Moon Ancient Clan to kill Longchen. However, no one had expected that not only did Longchen survive, but the three Saint Stage powerhouses had also been killed by Jian Fantian. The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the clan leader of the Xianyuan clan rose into the air and approached Longchen and the others. Then, the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan said gloomily, "I really want to know what kind of charm this boy has to be able to establish a force that's second only to a one-star ancient clan in such a short time after entering the wasteland. He's even able to make you, the clan leader of the Worshipper clan, help him so much. There's also the Alchemist Guild and the Dark Star Organization." Jian Fantian did not answer. Instead, the clan leader of the Nine Suns Ancient Clan said, "As the Alliance leader, you have to take good care of him. Even a Saint Stage powerhouse would be in danger in the Immortal's corpse realm. He's just a little half-step saint. It would be bad if he died in there." The clan leader of the Nine Suns Ancient Clan mocked. Dongfang Jin, who was standing at the side, sneered when he heard the clan leader of the Nine Suns Ancient Clan. He said, "Then, everyone should be careful. After all, the Saint Stage powerhouses of your clans have died in my lord's hands." The Nine Suns Ancient Clan and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan turned pale. Rumble. Then, in the sky, the lightning around the huge statue swept across the entire sky like a tide. It was as though the whole world was in a sea of tears. Streaks of lightning quickly gathered in the center and finally landed on the eyes of the huge statue. For a moment, the pair of eyes actually landed on the ground and turned into two passages. The Nine Suns Ancient Clan and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan snorted coldly and returned to their clans. Then, they led the people behind them and walked toward the light pillar passage. Every time a person stepped into the passage, another person disappeared. It took the two groups a few hours to enter the Immortal's corpse realm. The Immortal's corpse realm was similar to the other secret realms. It was as though they were in another secret realm. However, this place seemed to be filled with vibrations all the time. The sound that was like a heartbeat made many people's scalps go numb. The ground under their feet was also the color of flesh and blood. However, it was so hard that even weapons could not hurt it. "The two clans will form a group and try to find all kinds of resources," Jian Fantian said first. "Unless it's necessary, don't have any conflicts with the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan." In fact, even the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the others gave the same order. This was because every ancient clan knew that the Immortal's corpse realm was not a place for fighting. The time for them to fight was after they left this place. Everyone walked toward the passage in front of them in groups of 100 people. The same passage seemed to be everywhere in the Immortal's corpse realm. No one knew which passage led to which place. The dark green passage seemed to be squirming at any time. For many people, it was their first time entering the immortal's corpse realm. Some people even wanted to cut the passage above them. However, other than a series of metallic sounds, not even a white mark was left on the passage. After walking along the passage for a long time, the front suddenly opened up. Long Chen, Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, and the swordsman ancient clan could not help but look over. They saw that there was a huge golden mountain. The golden mountain was shining so brightly that no one dared to look at it. After a brief moment of surprise, when everyone saw that the thing they discovered was actually gold, their faces flushed red with anger. In addition, the swordsman ancient clan members who were traveling with Long Chen began to discuss and shout. Our luck is really bad. We actually encountered such a useless thing after entering the first passage. If you haven't entered the immortal's corpse realm, don't randomly bring it. Gold. It's fine if it's a supreme grade spirit vein. There are countless passages in the immortal's corpse realm, and there are all kinds of opportunities in them. I've never heard of anyone encountering such a mundane thing like gold. The swordsman ancient clan members were very dissatisfied. In fact, many people in this clan were very dissatisfied with Long Chen being the leader. They thought that the position of leader should have been Jian Fantian. However, at this moment, Jian Fantian's face turned gloomy when he heard their voices. Chapter 484. The pattern inside the god's corpse opportunity? Jian Fantian's body suddenly froze. The people of the sword-bearing clan all looked at Long Chen. A few of the older people leading them couldn't help but snort coldly at Long Chen. If this golden mountain is a fortuitous encounter, you can take it all. Everyone looked at Long Chen and sneered. Jian Fantian's expression was ugly. He didn't expect the sword worship clan to dislike Long Chen so much just because he was the leader of the alliance. On the other hand, Long Chen didn't care. He just walked forward and took the lead to enter the golden mountain. The three divine beast battle souls of the Zhangji clan led the way. They glared at the members of the sword worship clan, then snorted and followed Long Chen into the golden mountain. When everyone entered the golden mountain, they were surrounded by dazzling lights. Jian Fantian also entered with his clansmen behind him. Many people, including Jian Fantian, reached out to grab the golden mountain. With their cultivation, the golden mountain was like mud in their hands. Everyone's expression became more disdainful as they kneaded and squeezed. They threw the golden mud away. This golden mountain was undoubtedly gold. These things might be considered a considerable amount of wealth to ordinary people, but to experts of their level of cultivation, they were complete trash. At least, they weren't as useful as a pile of supreme-grade spirit stones. A young man in his 30s from the sword worship clan couldn't help but mutter, rumor has it that this person can kill a saint when he's in the half-saint realm. It seems that he's quite good at talking. How dare you! As soon as he finished speaking, he flew out like a stream of light and crashed heavily into the golden mountain. Jian Fantian's face was gloomy as he glanced at the members of the sword worship clan. The members of the sword worship clan were all silent. Jian Fantian said in a deep voice, "Whoever dares to offend me will be punished according to the clan's rules." The members of the sword worship clan fell silent. They didn't understand why Jian Fantian would treat Long Chen like this. Seeing this, the members of the Zhangji clan looked slightly better. However, they couldn't help but have some doubts. What was so special about this golden mountain? At this moment, Long Chen stopped in his tracks. Both of his hands were moving rapidly in the air. Streams of pure gunmetal origin power spread out in all directions, emitting divine light that fell on the entire golden mountain like raindrops. Swoosh! Swoosh! The sound of an explosion rang out. Countless rays of golden light rose and fell on the golden mountain. An extremely dense aura of origin appeared. Gingjin origin! Long Chen couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. The amount of heptametal origin he'd seen through the origin ice in the eternal origin mountain was extremely little. He never imagined that such a place would actually exist within the God Corpse realm. At this moment, the path he was taking was a path he knew from his previous life. However, he had not discovered the peculiarity of this golden mountain in his previous life. Now that he possessed the divine will of a sovereign, he was able to immediately identify the opportunities hidden here. Heptametal source was a 5-star metal source energy. Its degree of preciousness could be imagined. Many members of the Tsani clan trembled with excitement. Some people even laid down on the golden mountain and began to condense their origin energy. The swordsman clan exclaimed incessantly. The swordsman clan revered the way of the sword, and many of them condensed minor paths below the metal source energy. This Gingjin origin was simply an unprecedented opportunity for them. Many Runhuang powerhouses sat down cross-legged. The members of both clans did the same. They were actually immersed in cultivation on the spot. Long Chen, on the other hand, was lost in thought. His gaze seemed to penetrate the passageway and look elsewhere. According to the 3 divine beast fighting souls, this huge god corpse realm was transformed from the physical body of the celestial god clan. He seemed to have an unprecedented understanding of this place. Long Chen and the 3 divine beast fighting souls walked to the side. Then, he asked solemnly, "Could this so-called passageway of yours be the meridians of the celestial god clan? As far as I know, this passageway will eventually lead to a maze of caves. There are wild beasts of metal in it, as well as countless opportunities." Tao Tai's eyes narrowed when he heard this. He could not help but nod and say, "The human body is surrounded by the power of the 5 elements. His lungs are of the metal element, his liver is of the wood element, his kidney is of the water element, his heart is of the fire element, and his spleen is of the earth element." The Yazi fighting soul and the Kirin woman's eyes were filled with disbelief. If this was true, perhaps they had already found the most crucial place in the god corpse realm. Long Chen nodded slightly. That was exactly what he meant. He himself was the condensed power of the 5 elements, so he understood it very well. Naturally, he knew where it was located in the human body. After pondering for a while, Long Chen said to the few of them, "The 3 of you in Jianshi San, go back the way you came. Find the passageway of the human body's meridians and enter. See if our guess is correct." The few of them quickly nodded in response. Then, they turned back with Jianshi San and headed toward the place where they appeared after entering the god corpse realm. Everyone was immersed in this place. Long Chen was not in a hurry to leave. Just this place of opportunity alone made them stay for a full 3 days. And on the 3rd day, the 3 divine beast fighting souls in Jianshi San finally returned. The few of them had a somewhat dignified look in their eyes. "Indeed, we have searched for many passageways over the past 3 days. In the end, all the opportunities we encountered, no matter how big or small, were actually the power of the 5 elements. If divided by the human body, the place we are heading toward is where the lungs are." After a series of inquiries, Long Chen's face could not help but show some excitement. Sure enough, it was as he had expected. This so-called passageway was actually formed by the meridians of the entire body. Although the location and appearance had changed greatly, the general route had not changed. All of this sounded too inconceivable. But on second thought, it was reasonable. After all, this place was formed by the body of the Divine Beast clan. Long Chen pondered for a moment and walked toward Jian Fantian. He said in a deep voice, "The path we are going to take is different from the god corpse realm that all clans have reached in the past. Your clan must not make any changes." Jian Fantian nodded and agreed. In fact, because of this place, many members of the Jian clan behind him seemed to have a little more trust in Long Chen. It was not the first time that the various ancient clans had entered the god corpse realm. In fact, in the past, they had been searching for opportunities in the periphery, which was like a golden mountain. And Long Chen gradually led them deeper into the god corpse realm. The dangers they faced were also getting more and more terrifying. The blood-eyed wild beast was the most common demonic beast in the god corpse realm. Its strength was extremely great, ranging from the Emperor realm to the Dao Saint realm. Seeing that the blood-eyed wild beast that they gradually encountered had reached the human sovereign realm, Jian Fantian said, "In the following passageways, the various clans would go at most 1,000 meters in the past. Then, they would have to go back and find another place. Chapter 485. The wonderful uses of the insectivore. After 1,000 meters, it was actually the so-called labyrinth cave, which was filled with metal desolate beasts. In his previous life, this was also the first time the various races had explored this place. From the looks of it, this labyrinth was actually formed from the lungs of the deity race's corporeal body. Under the lead of Long Chen and Jian Fantian, the group once again ventured deeper. Many of the upper echelons of the swordsman clan knew that in the past, no one would set foot in this area after 1,000 meters. Within a short span of 1,000 meters, nearly 1,000 blood-eyed wild beasts had appeared. Each of them had the strength of a peak runhuang. The eyes of these desolate beasts were blood-red, and they were filled with blood vessels. The blood energy around their bodies was like raging flames, and their bodies seemed both real and illusory. It was indescribable. Most of the attacks had no effect on it at all. It was very powerful. Although his rank was only equivalent to the peak of the human sovereign stage, his combat strength was close to that of a half-saint. This was also the reason why the various races had stopped here in the past. Along the way, all kinds of opportunities could be considered as good. Even the half-sage realm could be improved. In the past, if his luck was good, he could even obtain the soul of a desolate beast after killing it. There might even be broken immoral arts among them. However, their luck this time wasn't too good. None of the desolate beasts they killed had a soul remembrance with them. Although the blood-eyed wild beasts were strong, they were killed in less than an hour when they encountered so many people from the two clans. Moreover, there were saints among them. The elders of the sword worship clan were extremely excited because one of them had obtained a sliver of soul remembrance after killing the desolate beast. After the soul was refined, it turned into a sword immoral art. Many people were envious, but Jian Fantian and the other higher-ups gradually slowed down because they knew. Once they crossed that area, the danger would multiply. Even saint stage experts like them wouldn't dare to say that they could survive. Many people gradually came forward. They saw that the originally dark green corridor had actually turned into a pure gold color, and the two sides were clearly separated. The few peak renhuangs walking in front were so surprised that they did not notice that they had already stepped into the golden corridor. Not good. Long Chen was caught off guard, and his complexion abruptly changed. He waved his hands, and rays of light shot out in an attempt to capture them. However, his speed was still a bit slower. Countless blood-colored insects as thick as an arm gushed out of the golden tunnel and instantly landed on their bodies. Sizzle sizzle. Several renhuangs at the peak of the Runhuang realm were reduced to a puddle of blood the moment these strange insects landed on them. Fear filled their spiritual souls. However, even though their souls appeared, they were ruthlessly devoured by the crimson worms. The terrifying scene caused the surrounding people to retreat one after another, their faces turning pale with fright. What is this? In the past, when we entered the God Corpse realm, we have never seen such a thing. A high-level member of the sword worship clan said with a terrified expression. Long Chen quickly shouted, "Everyone, back off. Without my order, don't come near this place." In the past, people from various races had attempted to enter this place when they were in the God Corpse realm, but they would only encounter Sage Realm desolate beasts after 100 meters. He had never seen such a creepy blood bug before. Long Chen said in a deep voice, "Those who have not reached the peak of the Runhuang realm, go back the way you came and look for other opportunities. However, you must not go beyond the explored areas in the God Corpse realm." Everyone nodded. Jian Fantian looked deeply at the tunnel behind and said to Long Chen in a deep voice, "Do you really plan to continue?" Even the Saint Realm masters of the various ancient races did not dare to enter the space after this. These crimson worms have never appeared before. Only this time, it's different. Long Chen nodded and said, "Do you still remember the insect-eating beast that I asked you to capture? This beast has a miraculous effect here. This was the first time the crimson worms had appeared. Although the timing of their appearance was slightly different from his previous life, the changes themselves were not significant. Insect-eating beast? Everyone was stunned. After Longchen became the leader, he had only given one strict order, which was to capture insect-eating beasts. Could it be for this place? Many high-level members could not help but stare at Longchen. They felt that Longchen might have an unusual understanding of this place. Buzz. Longchen moved his right hand and took out the insect-eating beast that had been sealed in his storage ring with a special formation. Then, he drove it into the tunnel. Just as expected. The creepy crimson worms actually scattered in all directions in disgust. Some of them did not even have time to hide in the surrounding walls before they were caught by the insect-eating beasts. The crimson worms that could tear apart the peak of the Runhuang realm in an instant were vulnerable in the hands of the insect-eating beasts. The crimson color on their bodies quickly faded and they turned into giant maggots that were then devoured. At the sight of this, everyone looked at Longchen with reverence. If it were not for Longchen, they would have stopped here today. Everyone no longer hesitated and used their divine consciousness to forcibly subdue the insect-eating beasts. Then, they were ready to continue. The other disciples who had not reached the peak of the Runhuang realm all turned back. Longchen and the others also walked deeper into the tunnel with the help of the insect-eating beasts. Beyond the dozens of huge tunnels, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and many two-star ancient clans had also reached this place. However, many of them had died an unnatural death. The direction that the entire Bright Moon Ancient Clan led many people and was almost the same as Longchen and the others. In a short period of time, hundreds of people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had died, including more than a dozen half-saint experts. However, they had only walked more than 10 meters. The crimson worms were simply everyone's nightmare. Damn it, how could this be? In the past, even if there were many blood-eyed wild beasts that were as strong as the Saint Realm, they would not be so terrible. If this goes on, how can we get the boundary stone? If I had known this would happen, I would have rushed to the maze at all costs when the Divine Corpse Realm opened last time. We can't go on. At this moment, I'm afraid that the other tunnels have encountered the same problem. If this goes on, our clan will lose too many people. The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan ordered everyone to stop. He took out a voice-transmitting talisman and asked the people of other clans in the other tunnels to stop as well. However, an incongruous voice came from the voice-transmitting talisman. It was that a group of people had safely passed through the tunnel that was full of crimson worms. The Insect Beast Clan? Aren't they from the 3-star Ancient Clan? How could they pass through this place? The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan asked in confusion as he led everyone back. When they turned back and walked along another tunnel, they could not help but sigh when they encountered the Insect Beast Clan. There were more than a dozen insect-eating beasts in this clan. In fact, this was why Longchen knew that the insect-eating beasts had a miraculous effect on this place. No one would have thought that a 3-star ancient clan would play such a big role at this time. Chapter 486. A strange thing along the way, the places that the various clans did not dare to step into in the past were now empty. The members of the various ancient clans met at the entrance and then went to the various passages again. In the end, they all wanted to go to the place where Longchen and the others from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan were. The Xianyuan clan and the other ancient clans sighed. They had never thought that the insect-eating beasts would be so useful in this place. Many people were shocked by Longchen. If it weren't for Longchen's foresight, only the Bright Moon Ancient Clan would have been able to go deeper. Even if they followed closely, they would suffer great losses. Longchen and the others had already arrived at the chest area of the immortal corpse. The center of this place was sunken like a valley, and what entered his eyes was the darkness of the past martial arts. On both sides of the darkness were 2 huge mountains. The mountains were rugged and there were countless caves on them. From afar, they looked like a beehive. From time to time, terrifying giant beasts would fly out from the caves on the mountain, roaring incessantly. Metal desolate beast. When Longchen saw this scene, he could not help but sigh. In his previous life, he had entered this place with people from various clans. However, other than the Hallyu Ancient Clan, there were countless casualties among them. The reason for this was the inexplicable appearance of the crimson insects. The Bright Moon ancient clan relied on the insect-eating beasts to minimize their casualties. In his previous life, although the land connecting the Bright Moon ancient clan to the Tian domain was not destroyed, they still obtained the boundary crossing stone. The world crossing stone was inside this maze. However, Longchen now knew that this so-called labyrinth was formed from the lungs beneath the deity race's chest and abdomen. Its nature was metal, which was why it gave birth to so many metal wild beasts. The place they had entered was right below the divine corpse's dantian. Therefore, the passageways around it could connect to impassable places, because they were formed from the god's corpse's meridians. If that was the case, then the most mysterious place in the divine corpse realm and the desolate region would be the head. While Longchen was deep in thought, Jian Fantian and the others interrupted his thoughts. The group did not take the lead to enter the two beehive-like mountains. They were extremely cautious. However, when the people from the Bright Moon ancient clan and the other ancient clans arrived one after another, they gradually felt a sense of crisis. The people of the Bright Moon ancient clan didn't arrive quickly. After all, they didn't have many insect-eating beasts. They took turns to arrive one after another. What made them gnash their teeth was that the Swordsman clan and the other members of the alliance, each of them had an insect-eating beast. Everyone was quite far away from each other. The space here wasn't very large, but it was at least 100 miles wide. Anyone from the various clans who could come here was at least a late-stage Renhuang. If it was carried out on a large scale here, who knew what would happen to these spaces and what kind of dangers would occur? Look, the Bright Moon ancient clan has taken the lead. Should we follow them? A two-star ancient clan leader asked Longchen. Everyone in the alliance looked at Longchen. After the incident with the insect-eating beast, everyone had a whole new level of respect for Longchen. Longchen shook his head. At this moment, the Bright Moon ancient clan had formed an alliance with the Nine Suns clan. They had also taken part of the things in the Clear Moon Lake from the fourth battlefield. Their strength was definitely not weak. The various ancient clans in the realm of the god's corpse were too familiar with the previous place. It seemed that there was no danger. However, the following journey would be a complete disaster. God knew what would happen. In such a place, it was definitely not the time to confront the Bright Moon ancient clan head-on. What they should do was to seize as many resources as possible. Once they left the realm of the god's corpse, it would be the time to decide the outcome. Go up the mountain from the right and seize as many resources as possible, Longchen ordered. The people of various clans agreed. In fact, for them, this place in the realm of the god's corpse was more tempting than anything else. Under Longchen's order, everyone walked up the mountain on the right. The people of the Bright Moon ancient clan also began to walk toward the mountain on the left. Just as they were about to step into it, Longchen transmitted his voice to Jian Fantian. Ask your clansmen to collect as many golden wild beasts' eyeballs as possible. Longchen's words made Jian Fantian's body suddenly freeze. He could not help but ask, how much do you know about this place? What are the golden wild beasts' eyeballs used for? Just keep them. Longchen shook his head. In fact, other than this maze, he did not know what other opportunities and dangers there were in the following path. In his previous life, although the various ancient clans had suffered great losses, they eventually reached this maze. Longchen was one of them. There was a great opportunity at the end of this place, and it was a blood pool. If one wanted to enter the blood pool, the eyeballs of the golden wild beasts were a must. The golden wild beasts only existed in places where the law of metal gathered. The other blood-eyed wild beasts were very similar. It was just that their entire bodies were condensed from the origin of metal. If they did not see it today, the various ancient clans would not dare to believe that this beast really existed. It was also because of this that once this beast was killed, its corpse would quickly disappear and return to its origin. In his previous life, the various ancient clans also returned to this place to kill the golden wild beasts. In the end, the number of eyeballs of this beast did not even reach the number needed to enter the blood pool. Everyone entered the maze. The walls here were dazzling with golden light. Streaks of light constantly flashed past. Almost every 100 meters, there would be a cave entrance. There was even a cave entrance at the top, bottom, left, and right of the cave entrance. The width of the cave entrance was extremely narrow. If a large number of people were to pass through, it would take a long time. It was because of this that the various ancient clans gradually dispersed after entering the maze. Long Chen and the rest were no exception. At this moment, there were less than 10 people beside him. Jian San and the 3 divine beast battle souls, Ao Tsunqiong, Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, and the rest were naturally not far away from him. However, Long Chen's eyebrows became more and more furrowed as they went deeper. Gradually, even Jian San and the rest seemed to have discovered the problem. They had been walking for nearly a few hours, but they had encountered less than 10 golden wild beasts. This was simply bizarre. Looking from the outside, there were at least a lot of golden wild beasts. The lowest level was at the peak of the human sovereign realm. However, along the way, they had encountered so few golden wild beasts. It was somewhat illogical. Use the voice-transmitting talisman to ask the other ancient clans if it's the same? Long Chen asked Dongfang Jin. After a series of inquiries, everyone's hearts sank. The situation encountered by the other ancient clans was similar to theirs. Some of them had not even encountered a single golden wild beast until now. Long Chen's eyebrows were tightly knitted. Such a situation had never occurred in his previous life. Although the various ancient clans were powerful and had the power to fight against the golden wild beasts, killing them was not an easy task. How could such a situation occur? Look! Just as everyone was in shock, an old human sovereign realm cultivator walking at the back pointed to a cave at the side. Everyone strode over and peered inside. Chapter 487. Immortal Arts everywhere. Long Chen and the others looked gloomy as they watched the bodies of the wild beasts of metal gradually turn into the origin of metal and dissipate. Long Chen's eyes shone brightly, but when he saw the scene in the cave, he couldn't help but frown. There were dozens of golden beasts, each of which was at least at the peak of the human sovereign realm. In addition to their special attributes, even a half-saint would need some effort to kill them. At this moment, there were golden beasts that were comparable to saint realm existences. Killing dozens of golden beasts at once, which clan did this? Ao Tsunqiong muttered to himself in a low voice. All of these golden beasts had their eyes taken away. Could it be the swordsman clan? Jian San said. Long Chen shook his head, and a solemn look appeared in his eyes. Long Chen said lightly, the bodies of the golden beasts of the same rank disappeared almost at the same time, so they died almost at the same time. As soon as Long Chen finished speaking, the 3 divine beast war souls couldn't help but ask in a low voice, Master, are you saying that these golden beasts were killed at the same time? Everyone's expression changed slightly, and they immediately gasped. They felt a chill run down their spines, and their eyes were full of shock. There were dozens of golden beasts here, and to kill them all at the same time, it would take at least dozens of Saint Realm powerhouses. It was impossible for all the Saint Realm experts from the various clans to gather here to hunt the gold-type demonic beast. Moreover, other than Long Chen and the others, the only ones who knew about the gold-type demonic beasts were the Songjian clan. Long Chen couldn't help but gasp and said in a cold voice, let's continue forward. If we meet anyone from the Alliance, tell them not to separate. This place is strange. Long Chen relied on his memory and continued to go deeper. Although the golden beasts along the way reduced their speed, it was almost as if they were unimpeded. However, Long Chen's face became uglier and uglier. If this continued, it would be impossible for them to get the opportunity in the blood pool. At least, the initiative was no longer in his hands. What kind of clan could kill so many gold-type demonic beasts? When he met the people of the various clans, many of them looked at each other in confusion. The situation that the other clans encountered was actually not much different from theirs. The disappearance of the golden demonic beasts made this originally extremely dangerous place seem like child's play. However, when the members of the various ancient clans gathered and discussed, they all felt a chill in their hearts. How could this be? It took us less than 3 days to get out of the maze. Have all of you noticed? Almost 1 out of every 10 gold-type demonic beasts possesses a remnant soul, and can obtain immortal arts. There are also many gold-type quintessence gold-type stones. But why is it that the number of demonic beasts here is far less than what is seen in the outside world? You noticed it too? The greatest danger and opportunity in this labyrinth should be the gold-type demonic beasts. However, the number of gold-type demonic beasts is so low that it's frightening. The difficulty has been greatly reduced. Long Chen and Jian Fantian's expressions were ugly. The total number of demonic beasts that the ancient clans had encountered was less than 50, and the people from their 2 clans had only obtained 20 pairs of demonic beasts. According to Long Chen, opening the blood pool required at least 100 pairs of gold-colored demonic beast eyes. After leaving the labyrinth, the losses of the various clans were less than 1,000 people. Many people who did not know the truth rejoiced. Under the lead of Long Chen, Jian Fantian, and the others, the people of various clans left the labyrinth. In front of them was a straight path. On both sides of the path were crimson-red walls, and there were even many blood-type creatures that occasionally crawled out. Long Chen and the others walked on the path. Every 100 meters, everyone would spread out. This was because every 100 meters on the path, there would be a remnant soul placed on the ground. Inside the remnant soul was an immortal art. Immortal arts. No one would have thought that after passing through the labyrinth, there would be immortal arts everywhere. Countless people from the various ancient clans rushed out and fought for the immortal arts. Only Long Chen and the Sword Worship clan did not make a move. Behind the Sword Worship clan, many people's eyes were red as they glared at Long Chen. Jian Fantian's face was ashen. This was because Long Chen had ordered them not to pick up the remnant souls on the ground. This order was originally given to the people of various clans. Unfortunately, other than Jian Fantian, no one was willing to listen to him. The temptation of immortal arts was too great. Clan leader, why do you have to listen to this person? These are immortal arts. They are all remnant souls. What can happen? Although this person seems to know this place very well, there is nothing wrong with the remnant souls of the immortal arts. Immortal arts. There are so many immortal arts here. The people of various clans have already started to fight for them. If we don't make a move now, we will get nothing. Many people from the Sword Worship clan shouted angrily. On the path, the various ancient clans led by the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan started to fight with the various ancient clans led by the ancient Xianyuan clan. However, there were no casualties. Most of them immediately went to snatch the immortal arts after defeating their opponents. Long Chen looked at the chaotic scene in front of him, and his face turned completely gloomy. In the past, he had a well-thought-out plan when he went through the various mystic realms. But now, he felt that there was a conspiracy afoot. In his previous life, this place did not have such a scene. There were at least 10,000 poison demons on the path in his previous life, and there were a total of 10 stages. However, at this moment, there were no more poison demons. Instead, there were more than 1,000 remnant souls of immortal arts left. If Long Chen's guess was right, these remnant souls of immortal arts were all poison demons that were left behind after death. As long as there were more than 1,000 poison demons left behind, it would be just right. The combat strength of the poison demons was similar to that of the metal demons. The most insidious part was the immortal arts that were left behind. Each of them contained soul poison that was enough to make a half-step saint lose his combat strength and fall into the heart demon. Even a saint stage expert might not be able to walk out of the illusion. This was also the reason why Long Chen did not let Jian Fantian and the others touch the soul seeds. As for the other ancient clans, he knew that no one would pay attention to him even if he said anything. After all, the temptation of immortal arts was too great. Jian Fantian saw that the people behind him were getting restless. He looked deeply at Long Chen and said coldly, "Whoever dares to say another word will be regarded as a traitor to the clan. Our clan doesn't want the immortal arts here." He did not know why this was so. He only knew that Long Chen's words were not groundless. Long Chen led everyone to the end of the passage. At this moment, his heart was filled with doubts and caution. Who was it that killed almost 80% of the metal demons before them? Who was it that could kill more than 10,000 poison demons in such a short time and did not want the remnant souls of immortal arts here? This person might be the most dangerous person on this trip. To be able to do this, his combat strength was probably no longer in the saint stage. What are you doing? These are all immortal arts. Are you going to let the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan take them all? The patriarch of the Xianyuan clan shouted at Long Chen. Chapter 488. The Real Danger. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan led the other ancient clans to snatch the celestial art remnant souls. Without the intervention of the Worshipper clan, Long Chen, and the others, they had almost crushed the Xianyuan clan and the others. This made the people from the alliance led by the Xianyuan clan feel very indignant. In just a few hours, all the celestial art remnant souls on the wide road had been taken away. The clan leader of the Xianyuan clan and many other ancient clans walked toward Long Chen with an unfriendly expression. Among them, the Xianyuan clan was the beast. The clan leader of the Xianyuan clan stared at Long Chen as his saint energy fluctuated. He said coldly, "We listened to Jian Fantian and let you become the alliance leader, but what have you done other than eating insects? There are so many celestial arts. Why did you order us not to snatch them?" As soon as the clan leader of the Xianyuan clan finished speaking, many 2-star and 3-star ancient clans behind him began to shout angrily. With so many celestial art remnant souls, the Nine Suns Ancient Clan and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's combat power would increase tremendously. Moreover, celestial arts were extremely rare to the ancient clans. Even the clan leader of the Worshipper clan, Jian Fantian, did not have a compatible celestial art. However, because of Long Chen's words, they had taken away so many celestial art remnant souls. The people from the Worshipper clan were angry but did not say anything. Their clan did not even have a single celestial art. However, because of Jian Fantian, none of them dared to say anything. Long Chen looked at everyone's anger and could not help but sigh. He said, "These celestial arts are all broken celestial arts, and I'm afraid there's something wrong with them. If you really want it, I have 1 or 2 in my hands." Before Long Chen could finish his sentence, the people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan burst into laughter. One of them shouted, "Ha! So your alliance master isn't Jian Fantian. It's this brat? I think the ancient clans are all hot-blooded. Although this young man is powerful and talented, how old is he? Ridiculous. I think it's great that he's the alliance leader. Otherwise, we don't think that we can obtain so many celestial art remnant souls." Ha! The people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan were in a good mood. This was the first time their clans had ventured so deep. Who would have thought that this journey would actually be so easy? It was simply like entering a realm where no one could stop them. Even immortal techniques were casually picked up from the ground. Long Chen shook his head and remained silent. Never had he imagined that just over 1,000 incomplete immortal arts would cause the members of the various clans to practically lose their ability to judge. However, he soon shook his head and laughed. If there were several celestial arts on the ground, then perhaps the members of the various clans would think a lot. But now that there were over 1,000 immortal techniques on the ground, the only thing they could think of was to snatch them. At this time, no one would believe any explanation. Long Chen naturally couldn't be bothered to argue with them and continued to walk forward. Although the two forces were like fire and water, neither side was willing to fight here. Although there were many vicious words, they were only small skirmishes. As everyone walked to the end of the road, there was a blood pool on the left. However, there were layers of illusory light screens surrounding the blood pool. This illusory light screen flickered but didn't have the slightest formation pattern. There was only a door in front of them, and there were a total of 200 grooves on the door. Long Chen couldn't help but shake his head. There were 100 grooves here, which meant that there must be 200 demonic beast eyes. However, Long Chen and the others only had 40 of them. After a while, his eyes looked through the light screen and fell on the looming blood pool. The blood pool was extremely calm, without the slightest ripple. Long Chen's brows gradually furrowed when he saw this. Almost all the golden demonic beasts were killed and their eyes were taken away. Then, all the poisonous demonic beasts here were also killed. However, there were no signs of entering the blood pool, which was known as the greatest opportunity here. Then, why did this person take the golden demonic beast's eyes? While Long Chen was pondering, the members of the various ancient clans had already surrounded the blood pool. Even an idiot could see the benefits in the blood pool. However, everyone soon discovered that if they wanted to enter the blood pool, they could only enter through the door. Even a Saint stage expert couldn't leave a trace in front of the light screen. After a long time of trying, everyone finally gave up. There was a trace of unwillingness in everyone's eyes. The people of the various clans continued to move forward. However, this time, the sword-bearing clans slowed down under Long Chen's lead and walked at the back. The other ancient clans that were allied with them seemed to be getting more and more distant from them because of the celestial technique. They didn't pay any attention to them at all. After walking for 1,000 meters, Long Chen couldn't help but shake his head. These people actually treated this place as a place of opportunity. After easily passing through the maze and obtaining the celestial technique here, their vigilance was lowered to the lowest. However, Long Chen knew that this place was definitely not a good place. He didn't know what would happen in the following journey. Even in his previous life, the various clans had only reached this far in the immortal corpse stage. Of course, the things that happened were indeed very different. When they reached this place in his previous life, at least half of the clans had died. Naturally, they wouldn't have thought that the number of people who died was almost negligible. After 10,000 meters, the passageway suddenly narrowed for some reason. The people of the various ancient clans had no choice but to move closer to the center. However, as they continued to move forward, the passageway continued to narrow. It was just that countless passageways appeared in front of them. At this point, everyone chose their own passageways to enter. Long Chen and the others walked at the back. After everyone had entered, they felt slightly relieved and followed closely behind. However, just as they continued to walk for 1,000 meters, Long Chen suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. Suddenly, countless blood-red moths swarmed in front of them. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The space vibrated violently. Fist-sized moths swarmed in from the front of the countless passageways like a tide. Retreat. Long Chen's expression changed abruptly. He immediately led everyone to retreat. The distance of 1,000 meters was covered in the blink of an eye. When Long Chen and the others came out, several people behind them had already been covered by the blood-red moths. The moths had sharp thorns all over their bodies. They were filled with blood-red brilliance. Half of their fist-sized bodies were actually fangs. They were extremely ferocious. Ah, ah, ah. Shrill cries could be heard incessantly. Long Chen walked forward. The cold light of his sword flashed and killed the moths one by one. These moths were actually eating the soul directly. Countless miserable cries could be heard from the passageways. After a few hundred breaths, the various ancient clans retreated in a panic. Everyone's body was covered with blood-red moths. They kept screaming and killing the moths on their bodies. However, there were also people who were directly turned into a cup of dust. Their souls were actually completely devoured by the countless moths. Chapter 489. Separation and disintegration. Long Chen's group and the swordsman clan were walking at the back, so they had the least casualties. At this moment, everyone's faces were filled with fear and shock. The yellow soil on the ground made everyone break out in cold sweat. Among the dead were cultivators of the Saint Plain, half-saints, and many at the peak of the Runhuang Plain. After a brief moment of fear, everyone's words were filled with uncontrollable excitement. Do you see that? At the end of the tunnel, there are blood-colored dead trees? Is it true? I didn't see it wrong. All of you saw it too. There are immortal technique remnant souls hanging on the withered tree like fruits. It's the remnant souls of immortal arts. There's no mistaking it. There are at least 1,000 of them. Another 1,000 immortal technique remnant souls. After the word spread, the people of the various clans seemed to have forgotten about the people who had just died. Only the remnant souls of the immortal arts were left in their minds. Longchen frowned. He looked at Jianshur-san and the others and said, "All of you, go back now. Look for opportunities in the places we've passed. Don't go any deeper." These words were not only directed at Jianshur-san, but also Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, and even Ao Tsungqiong. Although their strength was comparable to the heaven-defying Daozi, this place was so dangerous that even saints would die if they weren't careful. If this continued, their lives would be in danger. In Long Chen's opinion, such a risk was not worth it just for the sake of obtaining an immortal technique. When Ao Tsungqiong heard this, he took a deep look at the front and said in a deep voice, "We can all retreat. Why must we go so deep into this place? Let the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan enter." Dongfang Jin and the others nodded when they heard this. In their opinion, it was meaningless to continue on this path. Even Sage Realm experts couldn't resist the dangers ahead. So, they might as well give up on this opportunity. Seeing Yi Hailan and the others chiming in one after another, Longchen stared ahead for a long while and muttered, "Then let's wait here for the time to leave." Although he said that, everyone felt that there was a glimmer in Longchen's eyes. Longchen gestured for Jian Fantian to lead his clansmen back to where they came from and give up on going deeper. Under Jian Fantian's order, the sword-serving clan could only follow closely behind. However, when they thought about how many people had died in an instant, many of them felt that it might not be a bad thing to leave now. At the very least, there was still a chance to obtain immortal techniques. It was just that the chances were lower. Behind them, the members of the Xian Yuan clan had extremely ugly expressions. Ever since Longchen had ordered them not to fight for the celestial technique in front of the blood pool, they had been extremely displeased. Now, they had never thought that Longchen would actually leave with Jian Fantian and the others. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan looked at the backs of Longchen and the others as they left and suddenly laughed sarcastically. He walked towards the Xian Yuan clan and said, "I think the Sword Worship clan has been completely bewitched by Longchen. They actually chose to leave when they had such an opportunity. What an idiot! Why don't you leave the Xian Yuan clan and ally with us? Now that the boundary crossing stone of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan is in our hands, the Nine Suns Sacred Spirit is behind us." The Nine Suns Ancient Clan took out a scarlet fire disc in his right hand. A flame on it kept floating toward the cave just now. "Don't you know how important these two things are to our two clans? If we tried to obtain them in the past, we wouldn't even be able to walk into the labyrinth. But this time, we have a smooth journey all the way here. This is fate. As long as your Xian Yuan clan follows us, the wilderness will be divided into 3 parts in the future." The people of the Xian Yuan clan and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan continued to bewitch them. In their eyes, the Xian Yuan clan leader was already very dissatisfied with Longchen and the others because of the immortal technique. Once the Xian Yuan clan betrayed them, the ownership of the wilderness would no longer be uncertain. The Xian Yuan clan and many other ancient clans that had allied with the Sword Worship clan and the Tsungji clan changed their expressions and looked at each other. Although they had established an alliance because of the alliance, it was not impossible to break the alliance as long as they paid a price. Just as the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan had said, they had obtained almost everything they had obtained in the Divine Corpse realm. They had even obtained hundreds of immortal techniques. Once they left the Divine Corpse realm, their battle strength would soar rapidly. Just as the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Ancient Clan were persuading the Xian Yuan clan and the other ancient clans to rebel, Longchen and the others returned to the labyrinth. Along the way, Jian Fantian looked quite puzzled. "Many of you cultivate the metal origin source. I will ask Dongfang Jin to set up an array here. Everyone will work together to create the metal desolate beast and find a way to enter the blood pool." Longchen said to everyone. The people of the two clans were shocked when they heard this and hurriedly got to work. Everyone knew that the opportunities in the blood pool were not inferior to the immortal techniques, but they did not know if Long Chen's array could create the metal desolate beast. Long Chen handed an array pattern called the Metal Gathering Array to Dongfang Jin. Long Chen was not very confident about this technique, but he still wanted to give it a try. When everyone was busy, Long Chen walked towards Jian Fantian. When the two arrived at the place where the 5 people were gathered, Long Chen asked, "You must be wondering why I didn't stop the Bright Moon Ancient Clan from obtaining the Boundary Stone and why I gave up on going deeper and stopping the 9 Suns Ancient Clan from obtaining the 9 Suns True Spirit." Jian Fantian smiled and nodded. He secretly thought that Long Chen had already seen through his thoughts. He said in a deep voice, "You were the one who proposed the Boundary Stone and the 9 Suns True Spirit. You naturally know how important these 2 things are to them, but didn't we enter this place to stop them? Why didn't you do anything?" Long Chen replied, "Of course we have to seize these 2 things, but not now. So what if we lead them to obtain these things? They can leave this divine corpse realm." After pausing for a while, he suddenly changed the topic and said in a deep voice, "At this moment, I'm afraid our opponents are not only the various ancient clans led by the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the 9 Suns Ancient Clan. There is also the person who is hiding in the dark. This person is what I fear the most." Long Chen's words immediately made Jian Fantian tense up. This time, he did not open his mouth. Instead, he sent a message to Long Chen with his divine thought, "I suspect that this person is among the people of the various clans." Long Chen also nodded slightly. It was obvious that he had the same idea. However, he did not know who the person who killed the wild beast of metal and the dark poison demon was. He did not know whether it was in his clan or among the people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. This was also the reason why Long Chen retreated. If they were separated, the chances of them coming into contact with this person would be greatly reduced. Let's wait and see. Since the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the others are willing to be the vanguard, let them go. Long Chen said lightly. As Long Chen spoke, he placed his right hand between his eyebrows and handed over 3 soul brands to Jian Fantian. Chapter 490. Holy Blood Milk. Jian Fantian knew that Long Chen's spiritual will could suppress Sage Realm experts, but he didn't know that Long Chen could imprint his own spiritual will. If that was the case, then it meant that Long Chen could easily pass down immortal techniques to anyone. Jian Fantian couldn't help but laugh. He finally understood why Long Chen didn't care about the immortal arts here at all. After taking the 3 celestial art inscriptions, Jian Fantian examined them and found that one of them was the blood sword battle formation used by Long Chen's subordinates. The other 2 were extremely common immortal sword techniques. Most of the half-saints and peak renwings in his clan could use them. Jian Fantian had seen this battle formation with his own eyes back in the 4th battlefield. Its power was terrifying. After a brief exchange of opinions, the 2 of them began to add the catalysis of the metal desolate beast. Under Long Chen's guidance, 2 days passed before Dongfang Jin and the other clansmen finally finished setting up the array. All the clansmen who had comprehended the metal attribute origin entered the array and began to catalyze the metal attribute demonic beasts in a cave. Among the Renhuangs of the Zhangji clan, many had reached the Runhuang plane with the help of Long Chen. In particular, among the people who had followed him from the northern region, most of them had comprehended the origin laws of the 5 elements. There was no shortage of metal origin, and these origin powers stimulated the metal wool in the entire maze through the array. For a time, the gung metal origin of the 10,000 meters of land covered by the formation became richer and richer. On the 3rd day, metal-type demonic beasts began to appear. However, it was also on the same day that Jian Fantian's face darkened. He saw that a blood mark on his right arm that was close to his chest was rapidly disappearing. The Xianyuan clan has betrayed the alliance. Jian Fantian said coldly. Many people from the Swordsman clan and Zhangji clan had gloomy expressions. Some were even terrified. The Xianyuan clan's betrayal of the alliance was equivalent to joining the alliance between the Bright Moon Ancient clan and the Nine Suns clan. In this way, besides the Sword Worship clan, there were 3 one-star clans in the desolate region. Metal-type demonic beasts began to appear, but the hearts of the people from the Sword Worship clan sank to the bottom. Everyone's expression was gloomy and uncertain. After nightfall, many higher-ups of the Sword Worship clan began to secretly advise Jian Fantian to break up with Longchen after opening the blood pool. This way, even if the Sword clan's status in the desolate region would drop, they could still be one of the 4 overlords. If this continued, the Zhangji clan's clan and Zhangji clan. However, their plan was directly suppressed by Jian Fantian. Moreover, he passed down the immortal techniques and battle formations that Longchen had taught him in a timely manner. The Zhangji S's clan's 4 heavenly clans clan. One of the elders couldn't help but ask, "Patriarch, could it be that Longchen really gave you these things? Also, you once said that you broke through because of Longchen's guidance. Was that true?" Jian Fantian nodded solemnly. Seeing that the people around him did not believe him, he said in a low voice, "Our Sword Worship clan became a 1-star ancient clan because of the sword pool. However, our strength is at the bottom of the 4 great ancient clans. 30% of the reason is because we don't have the support of our bloodline. The other 70% is because of our celestial techniques. Almost everyone in our clan cultivates the sword Dao. We have a single cultivation system, so there are too few celestial techniques that we can use." When he spoke up to this point, Jian Fantian's eyes suddenly shone brightly, and his voice had an additional trace of solemnity as he said, "Longchen exudes a mysterious aura. The celestial arts in his hands are endless, and his vision is so broad that he can even guide the saint stage. His sword Dao attainments are not inferior to his pill Dao and array Dao. His divine consciousness is so powerful that he can imprint celestial techniques." Jian Fantian paused when he saw that everyone was silent. This person might be the opportunity for our clan to ascend to the heaven region. If we give him a few more years, no one in the desolate region will be able to stop him. All the higher-ups and elders of the Sword Worship clan shuddered. They looked at each other and fell silent. They finally understood why Jian Fantian had cared and trusted Longchen so much throughout their journey. So this was the reason. If what Jian Fantian said was true, Longchen's potential and attainments in the Sword Dao would be the greatest opportunity for the Sword Worship clan. In the midst of the silence, killing intent rose in everyone's hearts. However, they quickly rejected all the thoughts. Even if they did not ally with Longchen, it was impossible for them to kill Longchen with the strength of their clan. Although they had a lot of complaints about Longchen's battle on Kun Mountain and the might of his battle formations in the 4th battlefield were enough for their clan to have a say in the desolate region. Moreover, if what Jian Fantian said was true, as long as Longchen did not die, they would be digging their own graves in a few years. Jian Fantian naturally knew what everyone was thinking. After a while, he said in a deep voice, "All of you, stand down. From now on, our clan and the Sword Worship clan will be like twins. We will rise or fall together." Although Longchen had his guard up against the Sword Worship clan, he had some confidence in Jian Fantian's character. Moreover, he had invested so many benefits in this trip. With Jian Fantian's intelligence, he naturally knew the pros and cons. As more and more golden demonic beasts appeared, the blood pool was enough to enter the door. When the golden demonic beast's eyes were placed on the door, everyone's faces were filled with excitement. The door opened wide and a blood-red light rushed toward them. There was a strong smell of blood, but there was no stench. Instead, it was full of a strange fragrance. Longchen stared at the 2-legged people and said, "The blood pool here is 100 meters deep. Half-saints can enter, but you can't sink more than 10 meters. Saint Realm cultivators should stay behind 50 meters. Renhuang Realm cultivators can stay at the edge. Do not enter the pool." Almost everyone rushed into the blood pool. Many Renhuang Realm cultivators surrounded them in all directions. One of them even slightly touched it and half of his body turned into blood. The Renhuang Realm cultivators gasped. No one dared to question Long Chen's words anymore. Long Chen and many other half-saints and Saint Realm cultivators stepped into the pool. The others all stood outside. After the two-legged half-saints and Saint Realm cultivators stepped into the blood pool, they felt the blood around them begin to boil. The saint power in their bodies couldn't stop rippling. Even many people who were already in the half-saint realm felt a little bit of a breakthrough. The blood pool didn't sink from top to bottom. The power that could condense the saint power became more and more intense. Long Chen fell into the blood pool, but he didn't cultivate. Instead, he went all the way down. As he dived, the blood around him began to become extremely intense. A burning sensation instantly spread throughout his body. Saint Blood Essence, I want it now. Long Chen looked at the almost dark blood in front of him. His eyes were shining. Chapter 491. A delicate and pretty scholar. After the start of the Battle of Infinite Wasteland, the entire ancient desolate land was in chaos. All the secret realms opened at the same time. After the second opening, it was time for the various clans to enter the blood pool. When the Divine Corpse realm opened normally for the first time, the various clans also saw the location of the blood pool. However, similar to this time, no one went to retrieve the golden monster beast's eye. In his previous life, Long Chen was the only person who managed to dive deeper than 60 meters into the blood pool. However, at that time, he was only at the early stage of the Runhuang realm, but he snuck in. At that time, because he had snuck into the blood pool, he was valued by the ancient clans and groomed with many resources. In the end, he rose in the Battle of Infinite Wasteland and became a half-saint. Thinking of this, Long Chen could not help but sigh. At that time, the war between the Heaven Domain and the Wasteland Domain had lasted for 10 years. During these 10 years, Long Chen had only reached his current realm. In the end, the desolate region was defeated. The Heaven region once again redistributed the power distribution in the ancient desolate land. The Bright Moon ancient clan was still the overlord. Long Chen also became one of the many rogue cultivators. Another 10 years later, Long Chen finally entered the Saint Realm, and with the help of the Great Monarch Physique, he rushed into the 10 Directions Heaven Domain. The Half-Saint Realm, the Saint Realm. In Long Chen's previous life, he had spent close to 15 years to break through 2 realms. To many people, this was already considered a genius among geniuses. Although the Half-Saint Realm and the Sage Realm only differed by one word, every Half-Saint Realm expert had to go through dozens of years of consolidation before he could step into the Sage Realm. Long Chen gradually went down, and soon he was about 50 meters down. The blood pool that was 50 meters away was like countless needles rushing towards his body. Jian Fantian and a group of Saint Realm experts also slowly landed at the 50-meter mark, but their faces were filled with pain. Everyone's bodies even began to crack, revealing the white bones within. Although the color of blood was thick, they were able to see Long Chen's location at a glance. Soon after, the group of Saint Realm experts was shocked. The light around Long Chen's body continued to circulate, and he actually managed to disperse the violet power within the blood-red light. Isn't he only a half-saint? How could he sneak into the same place as us? A saint from the Sword Worship clan exclaimed. The other Sage Realm experts also sighed. They could clearly feel the terrifying corrosive power coming from the blood pool around them. Jian Fantian also stared at Long Chen as he replied, I said that this person cannot be judged by common sense. His cultivation talent and battle prowess are unprecedented. While everyone was still in shock, Long Chen had already disappeared in front of them and continued to go deeper into the blood pool. With every meter he went deeper, the saint energy in his blood would be several times more concentrated. The few Saint Realm experts were unwilling to give up. Seeing Long Chen dive, they gritted their teeth and wanted to try to go deeper. However, when they had just stepped 50 meters away, their legs had shattered, and even their bones had been completely reduced to nothingness. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and hurriedly leaped up to restore their physical bodies. Long Chen's figure gradually disappeared through the blood-red mist. Everyone could only shake their heads. 60 meters, 70 meters, 80 meters. Long Chen went all the way down. In his previous life, when he was a human emperor, he could reach 60 meters. Now that he was a half-saint in this life, he was naturally like a fish in water. Soon, he clearly saw a drop of milky white water with blood patterns all over it. This drop of water was at the bottom of the blood pool, where the saint energy was the most concentrated. As long as Long Chen merged with this item, he was completely confident that he could achieve perfection in the half-saint realm in a short time. Of course, even if he achieved perfection, it would not be easy to step into the saint realm. At this moment, Long Chen was only a few meters away from the saint blood elixir. However, he stopped in his tracks and could not help but sneer at the corner of his mouth. "Do you really want to wait for me to take this item before you're willing to show yourself?" Long Chen's voice was calm, but his body exuded a terrifying aura. Defensive celestial techniques rose one after another, and he was already holding a long sword in his hand. It was rare to see Long Chen so solemn and ready to fight. After he finished speaking, the bottom of the blood pool was still extremely dark. Only the saint blood elixir in the middle could be seen. It was terrifyingly calm. Seeing this, Long Chen snorted coldly and slashed at the saint blood elixir with the sword in his right hand. However, the moment he struck with the sword, a blood-red light burst out and directly shattered the sword. "Who are you?" A hoarse voice came from not far away. A dark figure gradually approached Long Chen. "It's you!" When Long Chen saw this person's appearance, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and a self-deprecating expression appeared on his face. This person had the appearance of a scholar and was extremely handsome. His eyes were very similar to Long Chen's in the past, and they were terrifyingly calm. This person was the first person to awaken from the illusory formation set up by the Zhangji clan that day. This person had once said that the Bright Moon Ancient clan had slaughtered his entire clan in front of him. That day, Long Chen had greatly appreciated this person's temperament and had even taught him the Divine Guard Golden Body. This person was also one of the leaders of the 15,000 people. Long Chen became even more vigilant as he stared at this person and said, "Now that I think about it, who can be so calm in the face of such hatred? No matter how good your temperament is, it's impossible for you to be so calm." The scholar smiled and did not say much. He just stared at Long Chen and said indifferently, "Speaking of which, I have to thank you. If it weren't for your God-grade elixir pill, I'm afraid I wouldn't have had the chance today." After saying this, the person's voice suddenly became filled with hostility. He stared at Long Chen and said, "Originally, I intended to let you people live for a few more days, but now you've completely disrupted my plan. This thing is definitely not something you can touch." As soon as the person finished speaking, his eyes suddenly turned white and rays of light shot out from them. The entire blood pool began to shake and set off huge waves. The originally violent energy became even more intense. The expressions of the people from the various ancient clans changed. They did not know what was going on and left the blood pool one after another. No one knew what was going on in the pool. Only Long Chen stared at this person. Void flames began to spiral on his right arm and a violent sizzling sound could be heard from the blood pool. He had already planned to use the spirit burning technique. This person was able to defeat all the gold-type demonic beasts in the maze and kill the poison demon that had reached a higher level after entering the blood pool in such a short time. His combat strength must have reached a terrifying level. However, in the next moment, the movements of his hand froze, and his eyes suddenly turned confused. An invisible storm surged between the two of them and turned into a blood-red vortex. Buzz! Long Chen and the delicate scholar retreated at the same time and spat out a mouthful of blood. How is this possible? You have a divine thought that has surpassed the sovereign realm." The delicate scholar screamed and disappeared on the spot. Long Chen's face was filled with shock. Chapter 492. Icefield. After a brief moment of surprise, Long Chen put the Saint Blood Elixir into his bag and jumped out of the blood pool. The people around looked at each other and stared at Long Chen in confusion. They did not know what he had done to make the blood pool so chaotic. Long Chen shouted coldly, "Did you see Zhao Qi appear just now?" Zhao Qi? Many people did not even know this name. Only those who cultivated the golden body of the divine guard were puzzled. Seeing that Zhao Qi had disappeared into thin air, Long Chen's face darkened. This person was very familiar with the divine corpse realm and had a divine sense that was similar to his. He was extremely dangerous and could kill without leaving a trace. Long Chen's divine sense was restrained by the Dragon Palace, but Zhao Qi was not. Otherwise, he could not have killed so many demonic beasts in such a short time. After a long while, Long Chen shook his head. He had never heard of Zhao Qi in his previous life. In this life, he had risen because he recruited disciples from the Tsunji clan and even cultivated the golden body of the divine guard. The cycle of cause and effect had gradually changed in this life. Whether it was the arrival of the people from the heaven domain or the delay of the Battle of Tianhuang, they were all closely related to Long Chen. Long Chen could not imagine the many changes that would happen. Just like in this life, although he had saved his family, the transcendent dominator had kidnapped his mother to control him. Seeing that the people around were very confused, Long Chen said, "Continue to cultivate. I will protect you." Long Chen's actions made everyone more and more confused. They did not know why he was suddenly so cautious. However, compared to this, the temptation of the blood pool was even greater. Many people returned to the blood pool again. Long Chen sat cross-legged and frowned. Seeing this, Qing Xian gave up cultivating and walked to Long Chen's side. He leaned on his shoulder and whispered, "Young master, why are you so worried?" Ao Tsungqiong, Jian Shishan, and the others also looked over. They were only Renhuangs, so they could only cultivate outside the blood pool. They could only comprehend a little bit of the saint power, so the effect was not obvious. Seeing everyone's reaction, Long Chen said solemnly, "No matter where you go, try your best to travel with others. Remember to leave alone. Someone here can instantly kill a half-saint or even a saint with his divine will." Hiss. Everyone's pupils shrank as they felt their hair stand on end. The people present were all smart people, and they quickly connected the dots to the large-scale death of the metal-type demonic beasts here. Long Chen knew that the safest way was to let Jian Fantian and his clan's inner Saint Realm experts lead everyone to not go any deeper and wait for the day of their departure. However, he knew that under the temptation of the God's Corpse realm, none of them would agree. Wang. Just as Long Chen was deep in thought with his brows furrowed, two Saint energy swords emerged from the blood pool. Then, two old men rose into the air one after another. There were actually two half-saints who had stepped into the Saint realm at the same time. "I've been a half-saint for 70 years. I didn't expect to step into the Saint realm today." The two old men's faces were flushed as their bodies trembled with excitement. Jian Fantian could not help but blush when he saw this. His clan actually produced two Saint Realm experts in one day. This was a huge improvement for his clan. Among the 4 one-star ancient clans, even if the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the 9 Sun Ancient Clan joined forces, there were only more than 100 Saint Realm experts. The Saint Realm experts of the various ancient clans had been cultivated for many years. The entire primordial was so big, but there were only so many Saint Realm experts. Long Chen nodded slightly. Although the blood pool was extraordinary, the fact that the two old men could step into the Saint Realm in such a short time showed that they had good aptitude. Jian Fantian took the lead to express his gratitude to Long Chen, and the two Saint Realm experts followed closely behind him. Long Chen walked to Jian Fantian's side and said solemnly, "Once the opening time of the Divine Corpse realm ends, no matter where you are, you will be teleported out. I want everyone from your clan and my clan to stay here. You and I will lead the half-saints and Saint Realm experts to continue exploring. What do you think?" Long Chen had already obtained the Saint Blood Spirit Milk. The Divine Corpse realm was incomparably magical, and it was transformed from the body of the so-called Celestial God clan. He had a lot of intentions to explore it. However, the existence of Zhao Qi had added a little more variable to the Divine Corpse realm. Those below the half-saint realm who continued to explore would only increase the trouble. Jian Fantian hesitated for a moment and nodded. After all, most of the half-saints and Saint Realm experts were from the worshipping Sword clan. In the end, the two of them discussed and left some of the Saint Realm experts and half-saints to stay in the blood pool. They directly closed the door and took away all the golden demon beast's eyes. Longchen left alone and did not let anyone follow him, including Ao Tsuncheong and the others. There were nearly 10 people, and the weakest among them was a half-Saint Realm expert. Jian Fantian said to Longchen, "I wonder if the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the others have passed through the front." Upon hearing this, Longchen chuckled and said, "They haven't come to trouble us for so long. Naturally, they have passed through. However, they have to pay a great price." The two of them chatted and soon reached the end of the path. They arrived in front of countless corridors. Everyone couldn't help but frown slightly. They saw that the centermost corridor was full of broken arms and limbs. The smell of blood was very pungent. However, there were also many moths' corpses scattered around. Just as Longchen said, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the other ancient clans had become the vanguard. Everyone advanced along the two corridors in the middle. They still didn't let down their guard. Along the way, everyone felt that Longchen's previous choice was correct. At least several thousand people had died in these two corridors. Everyone slowed down when they saw a ray of light slowly appear. Soon, they reached the end of the corridor. At the end of the corridor, the sound of fighting rushed into the ears of Longchen and the others. They stood at the end of the corridor and looked over. This place turned out to be an ice field. The cold air was as sharp as a knife. On a boundless ice field. In front of them, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Xianyuan Ancient Clan were fighting each other. The clans that were originally in an alliance were fighting to the death. However, the way they fought made everyone's hair stand on end. These human emperors and even Saint Realm experts were fighting with their bare hands. They didn't even use weapons. They didn't look like warriors at all. Instead, they looked like a group of street brawlers who relied on their own strength to fight to the death. This scene made everyone's scalp tingle. They saw people being surrounded by several people and torn to pieces. Although these people didn't use any techniques, their physical strength was still very terrifying. Everyone's eyes were filled with blood. It was as if they had lost their minds. Longchen couldn't help but frown. At the same time, he and Jian Fantian ordered the people behind them not to walk out of the corridor without permission. Chapter 493. Mermaid Gemini. Following Jian Fantian's gaze, they saw two huge mermaids swimming back and forth under the ice plains. Their huge bodies covered the entire ice plains, stretching as far as the eye could see. However, the strange thing was that these two huge demonic beasts had jade-like skin and long hair. Although they couldn't see their faces clearly due to the thick ice, they were still extremely beautiful. However, it was these two mermaids who made the Sage Realm experts behind Longchen and Jian Fantian take 2 steps back subconsciously. They didn't know why, but they felt fear in their hearts. Longchen focused his gaze, and a wave of bewilderment attacked him. His divine consciousness trembled and enveloped everyone, including Jian Fantian. The fear on everyone's faces instantly disappeared and returned to normal. The moment the fear disappeared, everyone couldn't help but take a few deep looks at the two huge mermaid demonic beasts under the ice field. They didn't know why they were afraid of these two beautiful mermaids. Longchen led everyone and jumped down from the tunnel, stepping onto the ice field. The people around them were still fighting, but their movements were like ordinary people. Jian Fantian's expression suddenly turned cold as he said in a solemn voice, "Right now is the best opportunity for us to kill them." Although they did not know why the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the other ancient clans were behaving like this, they did not feel anything. However, these people seemed to have fallen into a frenzy. It was indeed a rare opportunity to kill them. This wasn't the first time the various ancient clans had come to the godly corpse realm. Although the walls around this place were extremely sturdy, once a Saint Realm expert used his Saint Force to attack in a large area, it would attract all kinds of strange demonic beasts, whose combat strength was extremely terrifying. When a divine corpse realm cultivator appeared for the first time, the various clans fought over the immoral arts, and in the end, only a few people were able to leave alive. After that, the various clans no longer dared to fight on a large scale. But now, it was different. Under Jian Fantian's command, several Saint Realm powerhouses leaped out and killed several people in an instant. As expected, several peak Renhuangs responded and arrived. After their physical bodies collapsed, even though their spiritual souls appeared, they were still fighting each other as if they had gone mad. The members of the Sword Worship clan felt as if the heavens were helping them, and such an opportunity was simply hard to come by. After killing nearly 100 people in one go, everyone's faces were flushed red. It had to be said that even though the sword-bearing clan had become the vanguard for no reason, they had profited quite a bit. A half-step saint expert behind Jian Fantian was somewhat enraged by the killing, but he actually leaped out and crossed 100 meters. Come back. Longchen couldn't help but frown when he saw this. The members of the sword-bearing clan didn't know why Longchen had shouted, but they saw that the half-saint was already standing there in a daze. His eyes lit up, and then he roared and charged at the people around him. When everyone turned around, this person was already surrounded by several people. Longchen hurriedly took a few steps forward and covered it with his divine sense. The half-saint of the sword worshipper clan immediately cleared his eyes. Then, with lingering fear in his heart, he swung his sword and cut everyone around him in half. The man rushed back to Longchen and the others in a panic. His face was pale and he was sweating profusely. Only then did everyone realize that the reason why their minds were not damaged was because they were standing near Longchen. Jian Fantian and the others couldn't help but revere Longchen a little more. Longchen said in a deep voice, "Don't waste time here. These people aren't the main forces of the clans. There isn't even a single half-saint among them. This place is really strange. Even a half-saint would need a quarter of an hour to use his divine sense to leave this place. As for those below the half-saint realm, I'm afraid they'll keep fighting each other to death." Everyone nodded. The half-saint had lost his mind in an instant. This place really made everyone feel a little scared. Everyone moved forward again and soon found a high platform in front of them. It was filled with spirit energy, but it was empty. It was as if the opportunities on it had been taken by the clans. They crossed the high platform and continued forward. However, the entire origin ice seemed to be endless. When everyone went back along the path, they found that they couldn't find the passageway they came from. It was white all around. The ground under their feet was covered with a thick layer of ice. Strong cold air constantly attacked them. They could even hear the sounds of the group of people fighting not far away. After walking for a full day and night, Longchen and the others finally stopped again. Everyone's faces were extremely ugly. The surrounding scene hadn't changed from beginning to end. Only the two mermaid demonic beasts under their feet kept moving back and forth. How could this be? How big is this origin ice? Could it be an illusion? It's not an illusion. If we go back the way we came, we can still see the high platform and the people of various clans fighting. However, there's no way out of this origin ice. Is it because of the two demonic beasts below? No matter where we go, we can see them. It must be because of them. Facing the endless origin ice that was exactly the same everywhere, everyone seemed to have a nameless fire in their hearts. Longchen's eyes gradually fell to the bottom of the origin ice. As that person said, there were only two mermaid demonic beasts here. Whether it was the strange aura that could recognize people's divine sense or the endless origin ice, it might be related to these mermaids. As if sensing the murderous intent of Longchen and the others, the mermaids below the origin ice began to move violently in the water. The powerful waves seemed to have caused the entire origin ice to shake. Longchen snorted coldly and shouted to everyone, "Blast open the origin ice. I'd like to see what's so strange about these two mermaids." Following Longchen's order, Jian Fantian and the powerhouses of the ancient sword clan blasted open the origin ice with their powerful saint energy. In order to avoid a large-scale impact, everyone's attacks were concentrated. Rumble. the origin ice was blasted open, creating a gap that was more than 10 meters wide. Everyone looked at each other, took a deep breath, and entered one after another. However, when they entered the water, they were all stunned. Even Long Chen's eyes were filled with astonishment. There were only 2 mermaid demonic beasts left in front of them. However, these 2 demonic beasts were only the size of an ordinary person. Moreover, when they saw everyone, they shook their bodies and transformed into their human forms. Their beautiful bodies were completely naked, outlining their perfect and smooth curves. They were filled with an aura that could make one's blood boil. Everyone's eyes instantly fell on the 2 women. They could no longer take their eyes off them. Even Long Chen was no exception. However, Long Chen's eyes were fixed on the 2 women's snow-white necks. There were 2 slender wavy lines. See pattern, twin dominators. After a brief silence, Long Chen's words broke the silence. Squeak, squeak, 2 sharp and muddy sounds came from the 2 women's mouths. Then, the water around them turned into thousands of sword rays that attacked Long Chen and the others. Everyone was instantly on guard. Their saint energy surged like a tide, ready to meet the enemy. Wait. Chapter 494. Calculation. The battle that was on the verge of breaking out was stopped by Long Chen. However, the attacks of the 2 mermaids did not stop. They bombarded Long Chen's body. Long Chen's body was surrounded by immortal arts, blocking all of the attacks from the 2 of them. Deep wounds appeared on both sides of his body, revealing his bones. Seeing this scene, the 2 mermaids seemed to be stunned and did not continue to attack. Creak, creak. The 2 of them called out in confusion. Jian Fantian and the others didn't know why Long Chen wanted to stop them. The strength of these 2 demonic beasts was at most in the saint realm. They could easily take them down by relying on their advantage in numbers. Just when everyone was puzzled, something that made their jaws drop happened. Long Chen's mouth actually emitted a squeaking sound. Creak, 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 creak. It had to be said that this scene caused Jian Fantian and the others to be both surprised and amused. After a while, Long Chen could not help but shake his head. Let's go. The passage above has already been opened. We can continue moving forward. Long Chen seemed a little helpless. He led everyone out of the water and returned to the ice field. In the face of Jian Fantian and the rest's questions, Long Chen remained silent. The 2 mermaids behind him also looked at Long Chen's back from afar, their eyes filled with confusion. The twin sovereigns had been fated to meet Long Chen in his past life, and they could be considered very ordinary friends. And these mermaid words were a few that he had learned out of boredom in his previous life. These 2 women later became famous in the 10 Directions celestial domain. She could be considered a beauty of a generation, but unfortunately, her end was rather miserable. Long Chen wanted to take the 2 of them away from this world, but the 2 of them refused. From the 2 of them, Long Chen also learned that the exit of this ice field was sealed by their souls. Long Chen's expression turned ugly as he passed through the light gate that appeared out of nowhere on the ice wasteland. Zhao Qi, who had escaped, had already left in front of them. If not for Long Chen being able to communicate with the 2 mermaids and break the spiritual sense binding on them, it would have taken them at least half a month to leave the ice plains. This person's goal seems to be to stop me from moving forward, but what is his goal? Could it be that the god's corpse? Long Chen guessed. Zhao Qi's divine sense wasn't any weaker than his. Thinking back to when he entered the god corpse realm and heard the word soul return, it wasn't impossible for this person to be the living soul that the god corpse had been waiting for. However, everything would be revealed soon. After crossing the light gate, Long Chen and the others appeared in a place of nothingness, which seemed to be a broken space. Countless doors of light appeared around them, each of which seemed to lead to a strange place. What is this place? Everyone approached and looked around vigilantly. There were some places inside the light gate where the waves were monstrous. The water element demonic beasts were not weaker than the saint realm. Among the countless saint realm demonic beasts, there were countless remnant soul imprints. Inside some of the light doors were blazing volcanoes and countless fire-type demonic beasts. The center of these light doors was also filled with soul imprints. After a quick count, there were a total of 365 light gates. Longchen looked at the light gates and said in a daze, "This is the center of the entire God Corpse realm. After passing through this place, you can go to any place in the God Corpse realm." Jian Fantian and the others sighed. Ever since the God Corpse realm appeared, the 4 one-star ancient clans in the entire desolate region were filled with reverence. It could even be said that all the high-level martial skills and celestial techniques in the entire desolate region came from this place. However, now they knew that the number of places in the God Corpse realm that they had visited before was probably less than 10,000. The God Corpse realm was the first of the 5 great secret realms in the ancient desolate region. After entering this place, the ancient clans realized that this place was really strange. Even Saint Realm experts would die if they weren't careful. Jian Fantian stared at the hundreds of light gates and said to the people behind him, "5 of you stay behind and continue exploring with me. The rest of you, go back the way you came. Don't go any further." Everyone looked at each other and nodded in the end. They all retreated. Of the 5 people who stayed behind, 3 were saints and 2 were half-saints. Longchen stared at him and said, "Do you really want to continue exploring? There are more than 300 light gates. Any one of them can instantly kill a Saint Realm expert." Seeing that Jian Fantian was indifferent, Longchen didn't say anything else. After some consideration, Jian Fantian, Longchen, and the others all chose to enter the light gates. However, they didn't enter the same light gate. Instead, they separated. They didn't do this on purpose. This was the rule of this place. Every light gate would immediately dissipate once someone entered it. This was probably the reason why they didn't see any traces of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the others. When Longchen entered the place, it was a barren land. There were no demonic beasts or celestial technique imprints here. However, the reason why Longchen entered this place was that he thought this was where the God Corpse's Sea of Consciousness was located. It was also the place where the head of the God Corpse was located. Although this place was barren, he could still vaguely recognize the remnant spiritual chi. Longchen held a long sword in his hand. Along the way, he had experienced many secret realms, but he always had a card up his sleeve. However, this God Corpse secret realm gave him a strange feeling. Although there was a pattern, it was extremely chaotic. Now, he could only take one step at a time. Thump. 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 The sound of horse hooves became clearer and more rapid. Longchen leaped 100 meters and rushed to the top of a bald mountain. His face soon became gloomy. Tens of thousands of fake souls rushed toward him from all directions. These fake souls were wearing armor and riding on warhorses. Their faces were covered with dark green flames, and they looked like dead soldiers. Behind the soldiers were the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the 9 Suns Ancient Clan, and the other top experts of the ancient clans. These people were all staring at Longchen with killing intent. Their eyes were full of mockery. "Aren't you very strong? Don't you have a heaven-defying talent that allows you to fight above your cultivation level? Today, I want to see how you're going to survive." The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan roared. "You killed so many experts of my 9 Suns Ancient Clan. Today, I will make your spiritual chi suffer." The shouts made Longchen sure that these people were not fake souls, nor were they illusions. They were real. "I've been tricked." This was the first thought in Longchen's mind. The people who tricked him were not from the ancient clans. However, it was definitely not a coincidence that these people could appear here. Longchen's face was gloomy. Before he had time to think, he was drowned by countless fake souls. As Longchen shouted, his mighty divine thought swept out, and the countless fake souls shattered inch by inch. "You want to kill me with these things? It's not enough." The endless stream of void spirit armored soldiers seemed endless. They fell in front of Longchen layer by layer. Chapter 495. Counterattack. Longchen suppressed the countless phantom soul soldiers as he scanned the surroundings with his divine telekinesis. These phantom soul soldiers might be extremely difficult to kill for others. Even if there were dozens of Sage Realm experts, they would still die. However, Longchen did not die because he could shatter all the phantom souls in an instant with his divine soul. However, he knew that someone was doing this on purpose. These phantom souls were simply trying to test how strong his divine soul was. The person who could mobilize these phantom souls was definitely not the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, but Zhao Qi, who had escaped from the blood pool. Zhao Qi was using the Bright Moon Ancient Clan to test his strength. If you want to see how strong we are, then you'll have to take a good look. Longchen stood at the peak of the mountain, surrounded by countless illusory soul armors. As he roared, his divine soul surged out. The divine soul of his previous life had been passed down to this day, and it had even surpassed the original sovereign realm. However, unless he separated the Dragon Palace from his sea of consciousness, he could not use any divine powers. Even so, it was easy for him to kill phantom souls with his powerful divine soul. Buzz! A gust of wind swept out from Longchen's body, and a boundless pressure swept out like a tide. Countless illusionary soul armors were turned into white bones, and the green divine souls and the skulls were all shattered. The smiles of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Ancient Clan stopped abruptly, and they stared at the dragon chariot. As they became enemies with Longchen, they gradually understood Longchen more and more. However, they were also more and more afraid of him. What are we waiting for? That person said that as long as we help him kill Longchen, he can open the land of opportunity for us. I'm afraid that Longchen's divine soul has reached an unimaginable level. We can't let him live. There are nearly 100 complete celestial skills in this land of opportunity, and nearly 100 divine grade 7 elixir pills. If that person can really help us get them, the chaos in the waste realm will be over. After a brief exchange of opinions, everyone was filled with killing intent toward Longchen. In their eyes, Longchen was full of mysteries. He had an inexhaustible amount of celestial techniques, a battle prowess that could cross realms and kill saints, and a divine consciousness that could shake heaven and earth. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the Nine Suns Clan, and the Xianyuan Clan led many saints and half-step saints as they rushed into the sky. Everyone was determined to kill Longchen. Anger rose in Longchen's heart. Zhao Qi was able to manipulate the rules of this place and even join forces with the Bright Moon Ancient Clan to kill him. It was enough to show how dangerous this person was in the Divine Corpse realm. Longchen didn't hesitate at all when he saw the crowd attacking him. He turned into a stream of light and retreated rapidly. Currently, there were dozens of divine saints from the various clans. Coupled with the half-saints, there were close to 300 of them. Such a force was close to half of the peak combat strength in the entire wasteland. With Longchen's current half-saint cultivation, it was impossible for him to face so many powerful enemies at the same time. Rumble! Longchen shook his body and turned into his bloodline true form. Streams of origin energy accompanied by his innate divine ability met the crowd's attacks. Facing so many Saint Realm experts by himself, Longchen was sent flying 10,000 meters away. However, the crowd didn't look happy at all. Instead, they all looked gloomy. No one had expected that Longchen's bloodline true form would be able to withstand everyone's attacks. Longchen's face was cold. Blood kept oozing out of his huge body. This time, he had been tricked by Zhao Qi. Although he was seriously injured by this attack, it wasn't fatal. The strength of his bloodline true form was far beyond everyone's imagination. If you want to fight, then I'll find more opponents for you. Longchen shouted. He slashed out with his sword. Several celestial techniques soared into the sky and slashed a 1,000-meter-long gully in the barrier above the Divine Corpse realm. The strong vibration caused the barrier to tremble. Everyone's bodies froze. Countless blood bugs fell from the gully. Many terrifying demonic beasts rushed out of the barrier from all directions. Damn it, why are you guys in such a hurry? What's the point of saying all this now? This person's bloodline true form is so powerful that even if we join forces, we won't be able to kill him. What are you afraid of? I don't believe he can survive these demonic beasts. Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they saw the demonic beasts that could slaughter saints. They quickly retreated. Longchen was quickly overwhelmed by the demonic beast tide caused by the shaking of the barrier. A moment later, a figure appeared in the sky. This person stared at the demonic beast tide with a cold smile. I didn't expect your divine consciousness to be so similar to mine. You can suppress so many phantom soul armors in an instant. If it weren't for the pills you gave me that day and the divine guard golden body, I wouldn't have the chance today. The person who spoke was Zhao Qi. Pfft. However, before he could finish his sentence, Long Chen, who was among the countless demonic beasts, soared into the sky, covered in blood. Roar! The huge mouthpart bit down on Zhao Qi, and powerful dragon qi spread out from Long Chen's body. Countless demon beasts in the surroundings faintly showed fear and retreated one after another. Zhao Qi's eyes were filled with disbelief as he was bitten by Long Chen's bloodline true form. How is this possible? These demonic beasts are nurtured by the divine blood. What kind of bloodline do you have? Zhao Qi stared at the demonic beasts that were retreating in disbelief. Long Chen snorted coldly. His body gradually turned into a human. He then grabbed Zhao Qi's neck with his right hand. His eyes were filled with coldness. In fact, he only wanted to use his powerful celestial technique and physical strength to hold on until Zhao Qi appeared. However, he did not expect that the dragon essence in his body could suppress these demonic beasts. He had made the right bet. Zhao Qi had come personally after thinking that he was dead. Demonic beasts nurtured by the divine blood? No wonder these demonic beasts are so afraid of the divine blood in my body. Long Chen came to a realization. The heavenly dragon vein was ranked first on the bloodline master list. It made sense that it could suppress these demonic beasts. Even so, Long Chen's body was still riddled with holes because of the demonic beast's attacks. And all of this was because of Zhao Qi in front of him. Your soul has returned. You have such control over the Divine Corpse realm. Are you what the Divine Corpse clan is waiting for? Long Chen stared at Zhao Qi and asked in a deep voice. Zhao Qi's pupils suddenly shrank. He stared at Long Chen and said in surprise, You know about the Divine Corpse clan. Who are you? The moment Zhao Qi's voice fell, Long Chen no longer had any doubts. Since this person knew about the Divine Corpse clan, he must have a great connection with the Divine Corpse realm. Saint power surged in his hands, and this person's entire body was blasted into powder. Your divine soul is almost the same as mine, but the strength of your physical body cultivation is only at the half-saint level. Today, I will use you to obtain all the resources in the Divine Corpse realm. Chapter 496. Soul Refining Bang. Bang! Bang! Loud noises resounded throughout the entire space. Zhao Qi's divine soul sometimes transformed into a giant beast and sometimes into a monstrous wave. Even Long Chen couldn't help but turn pale. Zhao Qi's divine sense was too terrifying. At this moment, there was no doubt in his heart. Zhao Qi's divine soul was the so-called return of the divine soul. However, if they wanted to restrain him, they could only start with the divine sense. Let me go, or you'll never leave the Divine Corpse realm. Zhao Qi's divine sense roared crazily and violently slammed into Long Chen's divine sense barrier. Long Chen snorted when he heard this. This person knew too much about the Divine Corpse realm, but there seemed to be some kind of restriction. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let them take advantage of it. Seeing that it was too difficult to suppress this person's divine soul, Long Chen's right arm appeared and floated in the air. One after another, deviant flames appeared, scorching the space until it started to distort. Fire technique, soul refining. With Long Chen's shout, all kinds of divine flames shone together, leaving behind complicated traces in the air. Finally, they captured Zhao Qi's divine soul. Shrill screams could be heard as the powerful divine soul kept making sizzling sounds in the divine flames. The people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the other ancient clans finally noticed the abnormality in this place. They gradually approached and watched Long Chen's actions from afar. However, the surrounding demonic beasts that had not retreated made them dare not continue to approach. These demonic beasts were less than 100 meters away from Long Chen, but they didn't attack him. Instead, they formed a protective layer. Wisps of black smoke curled up from the deviant flame. Long Chen's pupils suddenly shrank, and he said in a deep voice, "Demonic Qi? You're a demonic soul." Long Chen completely understood at this moment. No wonder this person couldn't completely control this place and couldn't merge with the divine corpse. It was because he wasn't a complete divine corpse's main soul. He was just a remnant soul, a demonic soul that had been expelled from his body. For experts whose cultivation had reached the saint realm and above, the slightest carelessness could lead to eternal damnation. Therefore, in order to have a clear Tao heart, they had to cut off part of their divine soul. This part of the mind was also known as the demonic soul. I've sunk into depravity for so long, and I've finally entered the God Corpse realm. All of this should have been mine. Zhao Qi's soul continued to exist even after his death. Long Chen shook his head. If he hadn't come back in this life and changed many things, then the devil soul in Zhao Qi's body probably wouldn't have awakened at all, let alone have the chance to step into the God Corpse realm. Given Zhao Qi's original status, it was almost impossible for him to obtain a divine-grade medicinal pellet or a cultivation method similar to the golden body of a divine guard. And according to the development of the previous life, the next battle would be the Battle of Heaven Wasteland. After the second opening of the Divine Corpse realm, it would take at least a few decades before it would open again. Moreover, with Zhao Qi's strength, he would have died in the Battle of Infinite Wasteland in his previous life. Zhao Qi's divine soul gradually began to weaken under the influence of the heavenly fire. The black phantoms took human form, but they did not look like Zhao Qi. He glared at Long Chen, his eyes filled with hatred. No matter how much he begged or howled, Long Chen did not budge. Zhao Qi's soul was a demonic soul, so his words could not be trusted. In the end, his divine soul gradually turned into a ball the size of a fingernail. Long Chen withdrew the heavenly fire and held the fingernail-sized divine soul in his hand. Finally, like a whirlwind, he brought it into his knowledge sea. Long Chen's eyes suddenly went blank as countless pieces of information exploded in his mind. It turned out that this demonic soul was an item that the Celestial God Clan refined into a doppelganger, but no one thought that the Celestial God Clan would face the disaster of clan extinction. Before this person died, his body escaped into the void and fell from the 10 directions sky domain to the void of the ancient desolate land. And it was also because of the summoning power that this demonic soul finally came to the desolate land after countless years. However, he was only a demonic soul and did not have any inheritance at all. And because of the special nurturing power of the Zhao clan's bloodline, he had always lived in the bodies of his clansmen and survived. It was not until the Zhao clan was exterminated that he had no choice but to awaken and control his body. Once Zhao Qi died, he would no longer have a host body. At this moment, when the Zhangji clan recruited outsiders and gave them generous rewards, he saw the hope of stepping into the Divine Corpse realm for the first time. The divine rank medicinal pill allowed his divine soul to reach an unprecedented clarity. And the divine guard golden body allowed his body and soul to begin to merge. More importantly, if it were not for Long Chen's Zhangji clan, with his status, it would be impossible for him to step into the Divine Corpse realm under the watchful eyes of all the great clans. Once he stepped into the Divine Corpse realm, although he was a demonic soul, he also had an extremely compatible soul power. This allowed his divine soul to quickly condense and become what it was today. After knowing all this, Long Chen sighed endlessly. The wonders of karma in the world are just like this. The demonic soul that should have disappeared because of the Zhao clan's extermination in his previous life had almost seized control of the Divine Corpse realm because of him in this life. Long Chen looked at the divine soul in his knowledge sea that kept disappearing and regenerating, and couldn't help but shake his head. He could not completely destroy this divine soul. Since this divine soul stepped into the divine corpse realm, it had already begun to merge with the entire divine corpse realm. The celestial god clan was also called the Undying Clan. With such a powerful divine soul regenerating ability, who could have exterminated their clan within 100 years? Longchen shook his head and said nothing. After taking a deep look at the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the others, Longchen turned and walked into the distance. The surrounding demonic beasts retreated one after another. When he walked to a barrier, his divine soul moved, and a door appeared. After passing through the door, Longchen once again returned to the void where countless light doors were. Although Longchen could not completely refine the demonic soul, with his powerful divine sense, he had already gained a thorough understanding of the demonic soul. However, the demonic soul was not the divine soul of the main body, so it did not have complete control over the divine corpse realm. It only knew many secrets. For example, the golden beast's eye, the poison beast, and the void soul soldier just now. And what the demonic soul wanted to find was the space formed by the divine corpse realm's head. The undying inheritance and the soul inheritance. If I can obtain these two items, it would be equivalent to the celestial god clan living in this world, and their bloodline would continue. However, they are useless to me, Longchen muttered to himself. Longchen leaped into a light door. With the consciousness of the demonic soul, he would not be attacked at all in the divine corpse realm. Even the demonic beasts would avoid him. He had also gained a thorough understanding of many of the restrictions. The entire divine corpse realm seemed to have become a treasure trove without the slightest danger. On the second day, Longchen rescued Jian Fantian and the others, who were almost at death's door, and brought them back to the void where the light door was located. As for him, he continued to go to various light doors and obtain countless celestial technique marks and divine-grade elixirs. However, he still could not find the so-called inheritance. Jian Fantian and the others looked through the light door and saw Longchen shuttling back and forth in various places. Everyone trembled. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.